the magician in the world of Doraemon. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 676. The war is coming. The blue fat man took out the phone, and Doraemon's voice came from the other side. Brother, I have found it. Oh, Doraemon, it's not convenient for me to answer the phone for the time being, so I'll hang up first. After saying that, Doraemon put the phone back in his pocket. Really, calling at this critical moment. After putting the phone back, Doraemon turned around and apologized. Sorry, let's go now. Sophia took the lead and walked out of the doctor's laboratory, ready to take them to the barracks and set off with the soldiers. Although Doraemon has props and superpowers, this is a war, and setting off with the army is the safest way to start. Just as they walked out of the door, Doraemon suddenly covered his stomach and laughed. Haha, it seems that there is something in the pocket. In the pocket? The doctor and Wendani looked at each other, and they saw confusion in each other's eyes. After a while, Doraemon's pocket suddenly swelled and a yellow head popped out. Hi, everyone. Doraemon. Why are you here? Nobita and the others all showed very exaggerated expressions on their faces. Why did Doraemon come here? Because my brother didn't answer my call. Doraemon said as she crawled out of her pocket, and he didn't bring a spare pocket, so I came here. Wendani and the doctor's teacups fell to the ground, and the two of them didn't notice it because their attention was on how Doraemon came here. Gian and Azuki, who had expected it, said it was okay because he had a deep impression of this movie. Brother, what happened? Doraemon pressed Doraemon step by step. Why did you hang up on me? Do you know how sad I am? King Gyu, who didn't know, pulled the corner of Yu and Daz's clothes. Brother, why is Doraemon so disrespectful to his brother? Maybe it's because Doraemon made her sister worried. Yu and Dazi touched his head. This question is really hard to answer. King Gyu nodded, not quite understanding, and then stood beside Yu and Dazi and continued to watch the brother and sister. Okay, Doraemon, now is not the time to talk about this. Doraemon said seriously, we are the guardians who are going to protect the earth. Really, brother, you are talking nonsense again. Doraemon half closed his eyes and poked Doraemon with his elbow, his face full of disbelief. Sophia didn't care about being surprised. I'm sorry to interrupt you to reminisce about the past, but now we really need your help. Seeing that someone needed help, Doraemon immediately became interested. Just tell us if you have any difficulties. We are magical robots from the future. Thank you so much. Time is running out. Let's talk while walking. Sophia turned around and walked towards the military camp with a group of reinforcement. Because the warships sent out for search and rescue have not returned, we only have 60 warships left to use. Sophia walked to the gate of the military camp and heard little Harry allocating military forces. The extra soldiers will join the commando. Speaking of this, King Gyu felt a little uneasy. Brother, we seem to have caused trouble. Should we apologize to them? Yin and Dazi firmly refused him. No need to apologize. Last time they attacked us indiscriminately, we were just defending ourselves. Chumushin walked to the front and discussed with them. We have one more person here. Can we give him a mermaid costume? No problem. Soldier, go get this lady a suitable costume. Harry immediately ordered his men to do the job. Now that the enemy is at hand, he can't care about the hatred with these people. Protecting his own race is the most important thing. Oh, Doraemon, I almost forgot. Doraemon took out a pistol-like lamp. You haven't turned on the acclimatization lamp yet. Let me help you. Fat Tiger and Sunia found Doraemon. Little Doraemon, shouldn't you give us the props we need? You said this. I'll give it to you right away. The blue fat man put away the used lamp and then handed Sunia the impact gun and hydraulic cannon. Yu and Dazi shook his head. Their props were of no help because these things could not reduce the number of the opponent. Don't say that, just beat them back. This is a war. Once you lose, the entire race will no longer exist. At this time, kindness to the enemy is cruelty to yourself. Demushin also understands this truth and intends to take real action. Yu and Dazi suddenly thought, by the way, you said before that those black substances were originally waste energy of the strange fish tribe. Sophia nodded. If my grandma is right, there is indeed a lot of unusable dark energy in these wastes, so they are discharged. That's good. Thank you for your information. It seems that I have to wait a while before I can participate in this battle. Hold on, I will support you. Yu and Daz's figure slowly disappeared here. Before that, Junfei, you are responsible for taking care of them. Don't worry, I will make sure that they are waiting for you. Chumashin watched Yu and Dazi leave here. He has been with Yu and Dazi for almost a year, and Chumashin knows very well that Yu and Dazi is not the kind of person who will retreat at the critical moment. Since he is leaving at this time, there must be something that can reverse the situation, but it just takes time to prepare. HMPH, this guy is a coward. Harry looked at him indignantly. So what if he has superpowers? He can only run away in times of crisis. As soon as he finished speaking, Fat Tiger and Sunia walked towards Harry. What are you talking about? Fat Tiger picked up Harry. You haven't fought alongside him, so don't talk nonsense here. Although Yu and Dazi had betrayed him several times, he also knew who was the most reliable person at critical moments. Did I say anything wrong? Harry struggled frantically in Fat Tiger's hand. That guy ran away before the battle. He is a complete coward. The two sides were deadlocked. Sophia and Shizuka hurried over to persuade them. Okay, everyone said that now is not the time for internal strife. Shizuka rescued little Harry from Fat Tiger's hand and said to Fat Tiger, there is no point in arguing with the other party. Yuan will prove himself. Sophia also comforted Harry. Don't make rash assertions. The other party must have a reason to leave. Harry looked at Fat Tiger very unhappy and then continued to reorganize his army and began to arrange the manpower of each battleship. Doraemon also distributed props to everyone. Next, no matter what happened before, you must absolutely trust your comrades. Understand? Chapter 677. To take care or not. In front of the Mermaid Palace, Buijin was commanding his fleet. Attack with all your strength. Smash the enemy's turtle shell for me. Yes. The people below pressed the button more vigorously, and the laser hit the barrier, as if it was free. The barrier used by the mermaids to isolate the seawater was looming, and the speed at which the shield replenished energy could not keep up with the energy consumed by resisting the attack. Harry led the people to the door. Next, we will go out from the door. Everyone, be prepared for battle. The enemy will definitely focus on us. Shizuka asked in confusion, why don't you choose to open the protective shield directly, so that the enemy can't focus on us? It's not that I don't want to, but I can't. Sophia shook her head. They couldn't make a decision on this matter. The protective shield is to resist the Black Sea water and keep the last gathering place for us. After opening it, our last home will be gone. Little Harry's eyes swept over everyone present. So, who is willing to be the first to charge now? Fat Tiger shook his head. In this case, the first people who rushed out were basically doomed to die. Who would be willing to go? We are willing to go. All the squadron members stood up. We are willing to use our lives to open up a path for the large troops in the rear. Captain, please help us. Fat Tiger was stunned. They knew they would die, so why did they take the initiative to stand up? Wasn't there even one person who retreated? Little Harry also smiled with relief. Well said. You are worthy of being the soldiers I led. Not a single one retreated. But at this time, Harry did not mean to mock them, because even if they retreated, it would be excusable. After all, they looked like a bunch of children. When facing death, let the adults do it. No, let us do it this time. Chumashin stood up at this time. You are all the main force in the next battle, and we will be responsible for reducing your casualties. Chumashin and King Gayu stood in the front. We will rush out to attract firepower later, and you will speed up your march. But if you go out, you can't attract firepower at all, right? Harry questioned whether they could do it. Shizuka also tried to persuade him. Yes, and if you go out first, you will definitely be killed by the laser, right? Don't worry, we have a countermeasure. Zyadishin waved his hand, and a black cloak suddenly appeared in his hand. He had just contacted Yu and Dazuki. Since he would not go out for a while, he would borrow his cloak to save his life. Now they are safe. King Guy also took out a ring from the air and put it on his hand. With the infinity ring, he was sure to resist the laser with his body. Seeing that they were not ordinary people, Harry could only half believe and half doubt. Well, our lives are all in your hands. Anyway, it was their own request, and there would be no loss even if they failed. He was naturally willing to let the other party try. Under Harry's command, the pilot boarded the fleet, and the commandos lined up in the center of the fleet to reduce their casualties. Nobita and the others also stood in the team, and they would break through the siege with these soldiers later. Doraemon looked at Kingayu in confusion. There was no such person in her memory information database, and when did Izuki have that ability? She had a lot of doubts, but now she had to keep them all in her heart. It would not be too late to ask again after the war was over. Okay, the gate will open in 5 seconds. Harry stood at the front of the fleet. Try to run forward after you go out and draw the firepower to the distance. Izuki and Kingayu stood at the door and took a deep breath. The success or failure of this time depended on them. Mistakes would increase the death. The countdown ended, and the stone door at the door opened quickly. Zyadishin and Kingayu rushed out of this safe zone without hesitation. The speed was so fast that the nearby little Harry was almost carried out by the water flow. They really used all their strength this time. After the two went out, they first stayed in front of the ruins for a while, and then Kingayu shouted according to the old man's instructions. Buaijin, your grandfather is here. Kneel down and kowtow. Asshole, aim at them. The effect of taunting was outstanding. When Buaijin heard this, he immediately smashed the cup in his hand to pieces and quickly commanded the warships to gather fire. The lasers in front stopped, and all turned their guns to aim at the two humans on the ruins, vowing to shoot them into charcoal. The two looked at each other and saw happiness in each other's eyes. Their mocking plan was successful. Then the two rushed into the fleet of the strange fish tribe together and split into 2 directions so that the other side could not aim at both of them at the same time. Damn it, you rubbish, hurry up and do it. If you don't kill these 2 guys, it will be difficult to relieve the hatred in my heart. Buaijin kept roaring in his fleet. The fleet on the left, aim at the one with a cloak, and the fleet on the right, aim at the other person. Don't be stingy with ammunition. Under his command, the fleet turned the guns accurately, and the lasers began to flash continuously on the seabed, trying to shoot them into charcoal. Chumushin sent a message to Kingayu, run into their fleet, and use their guns to reduce their own personnel. Kingayu gave him an okay gesture, and cruised in their fleet. Indeed, many lasers hit their own warships. Report to the commander, our warship was destroyed because of the attack on them. Should we stop targeting them? Buaijin gritted his teeth. Now only these 2 children came out. If the mermaid fleet came out now, it would take some time for our warships to turn their guns. Humph, it's really a good plan. Buaijin gradually regained his sanity, aimed the gun at the passage where they came out, and don't let a warship pass. Although these 2 guys are a bit annoying, as long as they are determined to exit, can these 2 springtails still cause them harm? As for cursing, they can curse as much as they want. After the war is over, he will have plenty of ways to deal with them. Brother Chumushin, these warships seem to have stopped attacking us. What should we do now? Zyadishin hesitated for a moment and said, our goal is to prevent them from obstructing the fleet from coming out. If they don't attack, then we will find trouble with them. Thinking of this, Chumushin immediately stopped running away, drew his sword, and slashed in the water, and a warship was instantly split into 2. Fuck. A prosecutor wiped his eyes. What happened just now? Did that boy cut the warship in half? He looked at it in disbelief. Chumushin destroyed another warship, and this time they were no longer calm. It's bad, Lord Buaijin. Those 2 kids are destroying our warships like crazy. We have lost more than 5 warships. Buaijin was stunned. Those 2 people have the ability to destroy warships? If they are ignored, there will be no way to prevent the warships from coming out. If they are ignored, the loss of our warships may be even greater. When he thought of this, Buaijin felt that he was so angry that his teeth hurt. Chapter 678 Heavy Losses. Kingayu, who was outside, knocked over a warship with 1 punch, and then quickly moved towards other warships, ready to continue destroying here. Stop it, you little brat. Buaijin, wearing mermaid armor, walked out of the warship. Come and hit me if you can. As you wish. Kingayu stood on the warship that had just been damaged by herself. kicked her legs hard, and appeared next to Buaijin almost instantly. This is impossible. This is not the speed that a living creature should have. Buaijin was hit without any time to react. The small fist hit Buaijin's face, which was almost half a meter long, but it made his whole face dented, causing his head to deflect 90 degrees. Then the body turned into a gyroscope in the seawater, spinning and flying back to the warship that had just come out. What? You didn't kill him? King Gaiu shook his hand unsatisfiedly. You are really thick-skinned, and you even hurt my hand. Buaijin is a strange fish tribe after all, living at the bottom of the deep sea all year round. If his body is not strong enough, how can he resist the pressure from the deep sea? Moreover, the energy barrier of the mermaid armor protected him, weakening some of the impact force, which prevented him from dying on the spot. But this also focused King Gaiu's attention on this big guy. Why not try to destroy this main ship? After Buaijin flew back to the warship, he moved his stiff neck back and immediately ordered, "Listen to me, open fire with all your strength, and kill these two bastards." "Sir, what should we do if our warships are accidentally damaged?" His men still couldn't bear to see their own people killing each other. Buaijin roared impatiently, "Don't worry, open fire. If I don't kill these two bastards today, I won't be named Buai." "Understood. All fleets aim at them, and fire with all their strength." The men received the order, and tried their best to eliminate the two children regardless of their own losses. Countless lasers splashed on the seabed. Harry in the palace saw this scene, and put down his monitoring display. Now the time is ripe. All fleets listened to the order and set off immediately. Harry took the lead, to rush out of the mermaid palace, while there was a mess ahead. Nobita and the others also took up the reflective cloak. "Let's go too. We must not let them look down on us." Following the fleet, these people rushed out of the palace together. Because of the two people, no laser was shot at them. King Gaiu had already come to the main ship with the laser, and the demonic power on his body began to burn gradually. No matter how you look at it, this thing is their commander. King Gaiu slowly landed on the warship and turned on a laser. If we destroy it, won't it be a great achievement? Thinking of this, King Gaiu's right hand suddenly bulged, and the power brought by the burning demonic power was all concentrated on this arm. He looked at the round metal ball at the top. As long as it is destroyed, this battle should have a great chance of winning, right? Thinking of this, King Gaiu suddenly knelt on one knee and punched the top of the huge warship with all his strength. Bang! The huge sound made all the creatures present lose consciousness for a moment, and then fell into endless tinnitus. The people inside the main ship were even more unbearable, and some even lost their hearing on the spot. "Hey, what did you say just now?" A person asked the person next to him loudly. "Why can't I hear your voice?" Buaijin roared in the hall. "Enough. Everyone go back to your seats. Don't whisper there. I'm talking to you." Buaijin walked to a strange fish tribe member who stretched his neck to the neighboring seat and pushed him back to his seat. The tribe member opened his mouth and said something to him, but Buaijin only saw him open his mouth and didn't hear anything. Buaijin slapped him in the face with his backhand. "Did your vocal cord fall at home? If you have anything to say it properly. Don't pretend to be here." As a result, the person who was slapped still only opened his mouth without making any sound, and his swollen face after being hit showed a little more anxiety and grievance. Buaijin seemed to have thought of something. Why did he suddenly feel that the surrounding area was too quiet? Thinking of this, Buaijin hurriedly said, "Isn't it your problem, but my problem? If so, just nod your head." At this moment, he really found something wrong. Why couldn't he even hear his own voice when he spoke? Then he looked at the strange fish soldiers who were still gesturing, and suddenly understood everything. He couldn't hear the sound. "Damn it, I'm going to kill you." Buaijin pounded the ground hard. "Wait, as long as I get the mermaid sword, I will cut you into pieces." King Gaiu above covered his ears. He didn't expect that there would be such a loud sound at once, and he was actually injured by his own attack. However, his body was not comparable to those mermaids below. After resting for a while, he had almost recovered. Looking at the big hole with a diameter of 6 or 7 meters that he had hit, he frowned. "Really, I can't even break through this?" But the good news is that the attacks of the nearby strange fish tribe have weakened a lot. It seems that the attack just now did cause them serious injuries. The mermaid fleet below is quickly passing through the stone gate to join the battlefield. the blue light is lit up on the seabed, and the strange fish warships begin to increase rapidly. Chumushin stood above and breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that their combat mission was very successful. The mermaid tribe has begun to counterattack in full force. At this moment, Buijin typed out the command on the keyboard, then slowly walked back to his throne and began to wait for the final result. The surrounding warships immediately received this new order. Everyone, focus your firepower on the mermaid warships. Don't worry about the two children. He had figured it out. Anyway, their goal was to seize the mermaid sword, not these two people. As long as the loss exceeded the opponent's expectations, the opponent would definitely join the battlefield with the mermaid sword, which is a powerful weapon for naval warfare. After the warships briefly ceased fire, countless lasers shot at the mermaid warships drifting around, instantly reducing their personnel by half. There was no way. The strange fish warships had almost 300, and the mermaids only had 1/5 of them. The comparison of the forces on both sides gave the strange fish an absolute firepower advantage. This battle was a crushing victory without any suspense. Small cleverness might save them for a while, but it couldn't save them forever. Insufficient firepower. Failure is only a matter of time. Chumushin was also confused. Kingayu, come with me and attack with all your strength to destroy the small warships nearby. The main ship's artillery fire is indeed very strong, but since they came out, the main ship has not fired a single shell. If they can destroy as many nearby warships as possible, there may be a chance of a comeback. Chapter 679 Prayer. Corpses and blood floated in the seawater. Some soldiers still looked unbelievable. Why did they lose so quickly? The remaining dozen warships were dodging the lasers in the water. After a while, another ship was hit by the lasers and turned into dust. Why did they lose so quickly? Sophia muttered to herself as she watched the tragic scene of the war. It's only been 3 minutes since we came out. The enemy's fleet also lost more than 100 ships, more than half of which were destroyed by the two superpowers. Nobita and Doraemon were also retreating step by step. Even the reflective cloaks had been punched with countless holes by the overloaded lasers. Nobita hid behind a rock and looked at Doraemon. I understand why you and Daisy didn't let us pass last time. Doraemon sighed. Yes, the battle between civilizations is too tragic. The civilization they faced last time was even stronger than this time, but they defeated the leader last time, so they won directly. This time was different. The only chance to win easily was in front of Kingayu, but he punched it back. Because the strange fish tribe lost the target of the mermaid warship, they shifted their attention to the two children swimming around, and the beams kept passing by them. Buijin looked at the picture on the screen and wrote down the order. Don't use attack beams. It's meaningless even if you hit them. Switch to cage beams, trap them in laser cages, and slowly deal with them after everything is over. Thinking of that picture, Buijin sneered. When the time comes, let them see the power of the high-frequency particle cutter. After receiving the information, the surrounding warships immediately adjusted their magazines, and the warships near them formed a circle. What are they trying to do? Chumushin saw that their formation had changed, and he had a warning in his heart. Could it be that they want to use some weapons of mass destruction? Thinking of this, he immediately let the Dark Star Cloak wrap his body and at the same time used mental power to strengthen his defense. But this was exactly what the enemy wanted. The milky white beams fell around Dekisugi, forming a square-shaped cage. Kingayu was the same. After dodging several times, he failed to escape this range of confinement and was trapped inside the cube. Unconvinced, Kingayu punched him. You want to trap me with this kind of rubbish? Unexpectedly, the fist hit the laser cage, and the entire cage and the seawater outside trembled together. Then the ripples disappeared, and the cage did not leave a single crack. Dekisugi was also a little surprised. It can actually withstand Kingayu's punch? Then I don't have to try to break through it with brute force. Then he shook the cloak that Yu and Daisy lent him. For something like this, it can be teleported directly, right? Unexpectedly, this time, the magic pattern of the Dark Star Cloak, which always works, appeared for a while, and then it no longer responded to his orders. You are too naive. Buijin walked down from the main ship. This is the highest technology of our strange fish tribe, integrated with space technology. The agent swam to Kingayu and made a face, and the cage can direct the impact force to the nearby space, and the damage itself will be greatly reduced. Similarly, after having space technology, your ability to launch similar space transfer will also be ineffective. The agent put his face outside the cage. What do you think, little ghost? If you have the guts, you hybrid will hit me again. Kingayu's face suddenly turned red. You guys actually scolded my parents. I will never forgive you. Bastard is the greatest insult to the demon race who have engraved the pride of bloodline into their bones. La la la. I scolded you. If you have the guts, come and hit me. Come on. The agent said that he was not moved at all and even made a face. Kingayu gradually calmed down. I remember you said that this cage will disperse its power to the surrounding space, right? Hearing what he said, the agent was stunned for a moment. I think I said that just now. Is there something wrong with it? There is no problem. The problem is you. Kingayu gathered strength again, and the skin on his arm showed signs of cracking. If the impact force will be dispersed into the space, then you who are in the external space will also be injured. When the last word fell, without giving the agent time to think, Kingayu's fist hit the space barrier again. The impact force was dispersed to the outside world again. The agent outside the cage only felt that his brain, body, and space were shaking together. What a fool. Kingayu despised him fiercely in the cage, and then felt powerless. It seems that this thing is not something I can break. After waking up from the shock, the agent reached out and touched his nosebleed. The shock just now caused a lot of trauma to his head. HMPH, wait for me. After I kill all the mermaids outside, the next one will be you, an orphan. After saying that, the agent led his commando team to rush into the distance, charge, kill all the mermaids who are not dead. A group of strange fish tribes holding spears set out with their leader. Wherever they went, no one was left alive. Enough. Looking at the bloodstains that kept spreading, Sophia finally couldn't hold on and knelt on the ground helplessly. No more casualties. But the strange fish tribe would not stop killing because of this prayer. On the contrary, they saw the crown representing the princess. Look there. The agent pointed at Sophia on the ground and yelled, catch her for me and ask her about the whereabouts of the mermaid sword. Kill. The warriors behind him showed a bloodthirsty smile. The princess was their biggest trophy today. Great Princess Sophia, the legendary holy sword, please listen to my prayer and protect my people. Sophia knelt on the spot, clasped her hands together, and said what was in her heart. I ask for your help. Please help us repel the attack of the strange fish tribe. The crown on her head seemed to have a spirit and emitted a dazzling light, and the same was true for the armor on the agent's body. What is this? The agent covered his eyes and shouted, is this the precursor of the mermaid sword to be born? In the mermaid palace, Wendini and the doctor, who had been listening to the prayers at the 5-color altar, heard the call from ancient times at this moment. 5 rays of light of different colors fell from the sky. The two of them immediately looked up and saw the shadows of 5 stars in the sky. Is that blue Mercury? Wendini looked at the stars that suddenly appeared and finally smiled. You are worthy of it, Sophia. Chapter 680, Reversal of Situation. 5 rays of light fell, and the sea water that had been in the 5-color altar rose, gradually condensing into a human shadow. Then 3 golden rays of light flashed, and the crown, armor, and the lost mermaid sword all gathered here. It turns out that the mermaid sword really exists. Wendini looked at the human figure formed by the water and thought, it is exactly the same as Sophia. The doctor looked at this scene and immediately opened his notebook and muttered, the mermaid sword will respond to the master's call. This should be what he said. As soon as the voice fell, the 3 objects suddenly disappeared from their original place and moved instantly outside the palace, where Sophia was now. The golden light flashed, and the armor and crown appeared on Sophia's body, and they were automatically put on. Great, the ancient artifacts of the mermaid tribe have finally revived. Sophia looked at the light in the sky. The mermaid sword is left. As she spoke, she stretched out her hand to catch the sharp blade. This sword is their only hope for a comeback. The light gradually took shape, and Sophia finally stood up and stretched out her hand, intending to catch the legendary sword right above her. Great, is this the mermaid sword? Sophia looked at the fallen holy sword and immediately had hope. But at this time, another even bigger hand reached out. Yes, it's mine. The huge hand grasped the golden mermaid sword, and the blade immediately adapted to the size of its owner, and became matched with Buijin's height. Mermaid sword, I have been waiting for this moment, since the day I was born, and now it is finally mine. Everyone who was suppressed by the strange fish tribe, and couldn't raise their heads saw this scene, and despair began to spread in the hearts of the army. They had no hope. Thank you, my dear princess. Buijin raised the holy sword. Let me try now, the true power of the holy sword. Really? Why don't you leave this opportunity to me? A frivolous voice came, and then the black light pierced Buijin's arm. Now he has no protection from the mermaid armor, and can't resist the energy attack at all. Half of his arm, which is still bleeding, slowly fell down. It hurts. Who is it? Buijin covered his arm and screamed repeatedly, stepped back several steps, and searched the nearby people frantically. In the mermaid palace, outside the stone gate, Yuandazi held the modified Gatling gun, and locked the target with his mental power. Then his voice spread to every corner. Sorry, everyone in the mermaid tribe, I'm late, now you can rest. The Gatling gun in his hand started to run at high speed again, but I think some people can really rest forever. The black light was scurrying wildly on the seabed. Yuandazi mercilessly increased the speed of the Gatling gun to the limit, and the bullets tilted like a torrent. At the same time, the surrounding black sea water seemed to be pulled, rushing towards him quickly, and turned into pure sea water. This was the result of his research just now, analyzing the dark energy left by the doctor, and using the magic pattern to charge the Gatling gun. There was no way this thing consumed mana too quickly. If he didn't think of a way, the highest mode consumption would be sucked dry by it in more than 10 seconds. Damn it, evacuate quickly. Buijin covered his broken arm and crawled away from here. If we stay here, we will all die. But it was too late. The bullets were already flying when Yuandazi finished speaking. Buijin had no time to escape from here. No, I can't die. Buijin suddenly calmed down. If I die, then all my grand plans will be gone. Thinking of this, he grabbed the nearby strange fish guard and threw it into the torrent of bullets. Buijin himself used the recoil to rush upward fiercely once, and then he did the same thing and caught another strange fish member. In this way, he used the corpses of his subordinates to open the way and successfully returned to the main ship he used to drift in the starry sky. Finally back, Buijin covered his chest and panted, "Come two people to bandage me, and at the same time, attack the boy with the weapon with all your strength." With his order, in addition to the dozen warships that captured King Gayu and Chumushin, the entire fleet opened fire in the direction of Yuandazi. "TSK, you little brat." Yuandazi advanced instead of retreating. "The more energy you waste, the more energy I have. Let's have a war of attrition." He approached the fleet at a high speed, facing the red beam, while the Gatling gun in his hand continued to spew flames, aiming to capture his companions' warships. Chumushin was released first and joined the battlefield with his gang. A few seconds later, the warships that trapped King Gayu were also destroyed one by Yuandazi. When the two beasts lose their restraints, they will naturally bring endless disasters. Yuandazi stood in front and poured out ammunition excitedly. It can be said that today is his best day. Why did he have to transform the Gatling gun before coming out? Because magic cannot cope with such a large-scale war. Although the range of the 4th level magic is relatively wide, these warships are too sparsely distributed. If the range is too large, it will not be able to destroy the warships. If the range is reduced, the lethality is indeed increased, but at most more than 10 warships can be destroyed each time, and there is no way to destroy more. Moreover, even with the Archangel staff, it was difficult for him to cast a large-scale level 4 magic instantly. The magic power consumed by casting the spell was incalculable, which was really not suitable for such a large scene. After the 3 people in front became active, the soldiers in the back also ignited their fighting spirit again, picking up their weapons and preparing to fight them for the last time. Yuandazi shot down another warship, which was the 47th warship he destroyed, and the laser shot around him were all easily dodged by him and Chumushin using their mental power to calculate the orbital gaps. Looking at their figures, Sophia slowly stood up, walked over and picked up the dark golden mermaid sword from the broken limb. Is this the legendary mermaid sword? It really has a strong power. She looked at the strange fish warship in front firmly and shouted, "Let me help you too." After that, she raised the mermaid sword and swept it forward, and the surrounding sea water became clear at this moment. As her sword blade passed, the surrounding waves formed a vortex along the direction of his sword tip sliding, and began to purify the ocean. Seeing the sea water become extremely clear and the warships of the monster fish clan being destroyed one after another, Sophia was very satisfied with her masterpiece. Monster fish clan. Our two clans have been feuding for thousands of years. Let's settle it today. After saying that, a water dragon appeared under Sophia's feet, carrying her to the main ship that was drifting in the waves. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 681, Shocking Change. Sophia suddenly showed her power in the back, but the several superpowers who had been fighting in the front were in big trouble. Yu and Daisy was sweeping happily, but suddenly the machine stopped working. He shook the Gatling gun. What's going on? Did the magic pattern fail? No, someone purified the water. The old man's voice appeared in his sea of consciousness, leaving him speechless. Damn, who evolved the water here for no reason? Can't we purify it after the battle? Wait, could it be Yu? And as he remembered part of the plot and quickly looked at Sophia, who picked up the holy sword. It's really her. This guy is simply more of a hindrance than a help. I really admire him. In this situation, Yu and Daisy had to abandon the war weapon Gatling gun, took out the Archangel's staff and dark blade, and rushed towards the battleships. But he rushed out a few steps, and a current suddenly rushed out from the flank, hitting him without knowing the directions. Demushin and King Gayu, who were still fighting in the front, were in the same situation. The three of them finally met in the whirlpool of seawater, and they didn't know what to say. Yu and Daisy looked at Sophia in the distance. Let's find someone to take his sword. Although it's a bit unethical to do so, it's the most appropriate thing to do now. Xiaoshan observed the situation of the battle nearby and reluctantly agreed. Sophia's control effect, when she picked up the mermaid sword, was very strong, but she had no way to effectively kill these warships. Moreover, after the warships were caught in the ocean current, the hit rate of their own lasers dropped significantly, and now the casualties on both sides are close to zero. King Gayu, this matter is left to you. Yu and Daisy grabbed King Gayu's ankle. Take the big sword away and give it to me later. According to the setting, an evil heart will make the blade dirty so that endless black sea water can be produced. However, in various senses, Yu and Daisy believes that King Gaiu's heart is far from meeting the requirements of being dirty, and it is better for him to do this. It is estimated that among the people present, only he, a child with 2 life experiences, can make the blade achieve that effect. Moreover, after getting the holy sword, his Gatling gun will soon become a perpetual motion machine. It will be so comfortable to stand still and beat people. While he was thinking, King Gayu had already placed her feet on Yu and Dais's hands. Brother, I'm ready. Then go, Pikachu. At this moment, Yu and Daisy used all his strength to push King Gayu towards Sophia. Suddenly, the trajectory of the 3 people in the ocean current turned into a T shape, and they flew in 3 different directions. Sophia raised her heavy sword and slashed at the main ship, but only left a groove on the top, without any substantial damage. Seeing this, Sophia bit her lip tightly. Damn it, what material is this warship made of? Seeing that her attack was ineffective, the Waijin inside finally breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed that his life was safe. But think about it, this thing is specially made to prevent meteorite collisions. How could it be broken so easily? After all, the mermaid sword is only good at manipulating the movement of the ocean, and it lacks direct killing power against hard objects. Damn it, damn it. Sophia slashed at the main ship with sword after sword, but each time she returned in vain. Ha, little girl, don't waste your energy. The Waijin's face suddenly appeared outside the spaceship through projection. Even that child could only leave mark on my spaceship. What can you do with your little strength, even if you have magic weapon in your hand? Sophia looked at this hateful face and gritted her teeth. If you have the guts, come out of the spaceship and fight me face to face. You dare to create disasters in our kingdom and kill so many people in our country, but you dare not come out of this turtle shell and fight me openly? Haha, you can yell at me, I won't come out. The Waijin made a face at her. He was not a fool. Just wait, my fleet and I will leave here soon. After you die, we will come back again. The Waijin came forward and said in a low voice, when the time comes, see if any of your people will be able to pick up the mermaid sword. Then he pointed at Action and the others not far away, see if you will still have those people to help you through the difficulties. Hearing his threat, Sophia bit her lips in anger. She knew that what this man said was true. In a few hundred years, they would probably be isolated and helpless. The lifespan of mermaids is generally 200 to 300 years, while the lifespan of the strange fish tribe is usually 400 years, so they can drag it on forever. And if they really want to attack, they don't have to wait until Sophia dies. They can also attack when she enters old age. Besides, by that time, these human children will have died of old age, and it is impossible for them to provide any help. As for asking for help from humans at that time, what a joke. What if they are caught and sliced? Those people have done this to creatures like them before. Wait, I will definitely get rid of you here. Sophia swung the heavy sword again. I will never let you, this scourge, continue to live. At this time, a trace of darkness suddenly appeared above the mermaid sword. Her anger had affected this artifact. Then give me this sword. King Gaiu was pushed over by Yu and Dazuki. I won't let him leave here alive. Just now, this person dared to ask about his whole family. King Gaiu firmly remembered this hatred in his heart and was waiting for the time of revenge. Sophia was stunned for a moment, then woke up and handed the mermaid sword to King Gaiu without hesitation. Don't worry, I promise to complete the task. King Gaiu caught the mermaid sword and magical power poured into his body. At the same time, he looked at the main ship. Next, let me break this turtle shell. The demon power poured into the holy sword crazily. In the shining electric light, King Gaiu raised the giant sword above his head and then chopped it heavily on the main ship. The golden light flashed, and the main ship was split into two from the place where it was chopped, revealing Duigen with one hand broken. At this moment, his eyes were filled with despair, disbelief, and unwillingness. Was he really going to die on this land? Seeing that he had lost the last layer of protection, King Gaiu gradually smiled. Okay, what else do you want to say now? I'm unwilling. Duigen suddenly calmed down. He was going to die anyway, so it was useless to be excited. King Gaiu snorted coldly. Everyone was unwilling to die. Then he raised the sword of stars high, ready to put an end to Duigen completely. At this moment, a flame flashing with golden light hit his raised arm, knocking him hundreds of meters away. At the same time, the mermaid sword used to turn the tide of the battle was also knocked away. Chapter 682, Coming Again. King Gaiu covered his charred hand and stood up from the rubble. Who was the one who attacked him just now? As far as he knew, the only person who was present and could use light and fire was Yu and Dazuki. But why did he attack him? Xiaoshin's spiritual power saw something, and he couldn't help but look up at the sky. Who attacked? Don't you dare to show up. I know who it is. It turns out that the ominous premonition before was about him. Now we are in big trouble. Yu and Dazuki swam back from the back, and the surrounding sea water returned to normal because the mermaid sword left its owner. Xiaoshin looked at Yu and Dazuki, who suddenly retracted his cloak and was fully armed. So you still haven't told me, who is the person who made you so nervous? He took a deep breath, looked at the sky, and asked an irrelevant question. Don't you think that the sun is a little too close to us now? Hearing this, Chumushin quickly released his spiritual power. Not far above them, a fireball emitting light and heat was slowly approaching. The man seemed to sense the spying of Chumushin, and the surrounding fire was blazing, burning the nearby mental power used for detection. Puff! Chumushin suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood, and even a crack appeared on his gang. This guy's strength is very strong. Yu and Dazuki gently pushed him away. You go to the side to rest first. This matter doesn't have to involve you. No, we are companions. How can we leave at this time? Xiaoshan held his Ngang tightly, and his mental power quickly repaired the crack. Just now, the sun god only burned a small part of his mental power used for detection, so he still retained a considerable part of his combat power. I chose to cultivate this power because I wanted to fight side by side with you. Didn't I want to go against my original intention? Yu and Daisy nodded and didn't continue to persuade him. He also took out the Dark Blade and Dark Star Cloak and gave up the Archangel Staff. Because according to his observation, the Sun God should be good at long-range attacks, and it is obviously irrational to compete with the opponent in this aspect. Instead of fighting in the opponent's best field, it is better to use your own strengths to attack the opponent's weaknesses, and the effect will be better. As they were talking, the Sun God finally landed in front of them, and the surrounding sea water was boiling due to the high temperature. The Sun God waved his hand and ignored the bubbles. I came to you today. Hand over the Lord God's soul, and we will have nothing to do with each other from now on. Hearing him say this, Yu and Daisy frowned. This guy's goal is the Lord God's soul? Isn't that the soul of his good friend, Zhang Shan? Reject him. The voice of the soul-devouring monument appeared in his sea of consciousness, allowing him to quickly get rid of his confusion. Now is not the time to think about this. Want his soul? If you have the ability, come and get it. He quickly took the good things and entered the battle state. Humph, you don't know how to live or die. The sun god gathered energy in his hands again. You mortals are always so stupid. Seeing the sun god's action, Yu and Daisy instantly recalled the old man who was killed instantly that night and quickly flashed to the side. The golden light passed by his ears, and the flame was just a little bit away, and his head would be burned off, returning him to the kingdom of death. HMPH, because you saw it that night, are you prepared? The sun god missed his attack and gathered his strength again. Because this spell lost its guiding ability in pursuit of speed and attack power, but the effect was surprisingly good. Looking at the light coming, Yu and Daisy dodged again, intending to find his weakness from a distance before attacking. Chumushin found a place to sit down, and after releasing the Horcrux state, he began to sink his soul into the ocean, to interfere with him to a certain extent. King Gaiu looked at the battle above unwillingly. Is that the so-called god? He can only do some despicable things like sneak attacks. The demon power was constantly surging, and a new layer of tissue quickly appeared under the scorched skin and muscles. He was trying to get himself back to the battlefield against the gods as soon as possible. Others were also attracted by the battle above, and even the hostile mermaids and monster fish tribes temporarily stopped fighting and watched. But at this moment, Buijin suddenly came to his senses. Isn't this the best time to take back the mermaid sword? Everyone was watching the battle of gods above, and his sense of existence was infinitely weakened, and he still remembered the location where the sword flew out. Thinking of this, Buijin began to slowly approach the mermaid sword without attracting other people's attention. I can't get close. Yu and as he opened a golden flame with a sword, and his eyes kept searching. I can't find any flaws that I can attack. The sun god looked down at him. Are you going to hide like this? You want to use up my energy and defeat me? This is impossible. As long as the sun in the sky is still there, my sun god power is endless and will never run out. Then the sun god threw a big fireball casually. And you, how many attacks can you dodge? Sooner or later you will be tired. Seeing him so arrogant, Yu and Daisy was also very unhappy, but it was an indisputable fact that he was suppressed by him. After dodging the fireball, Yu and Daisy drew a sword in the sea water indignantly. The dark sword energy broke through the layers of water and went straight to the neck of the sun god. HMPH, useless struggle. Seeing this sword, the sun god chuckled and still stood there without any intention of dodging. Dang. When the sword energy was about to touch the sun god, a layer of golden barrier suddenly opened and blocked the attack. What is this? He suddenly frowned and reached out to grab a wisp of dissipated sword energy. This feeling is the bitch of the goddess of night. When he thought of this, the wound on his body ached slightly. After so many years, that woman is still haunting him, and Yu and Daisy was not doing well either. The fireball he dodged just now exploded behind him and turned into many small fireballs to continue chasing. Yu and Daisy had no choice but to inject magic power into the dark blade. Several rays of light flashed and cut the flames into two. Because the power of the fireball was reduced a lot after it dissipated, he dared to take these attacks head on, otherwise he would have to escape. Boy, the sword in your hand is a recast of the night goddess's staff, right? The sun god bent his fingers again, preparing to eject the golden flame. Now, there is one more reason for you to die, so please die quickly, to save us all some trouble, okay? The golden flame once again cut through the sky and flew towards Yu and Daisuke, but this time he did not dodge, but instead rushed straight into the flame. Chapter 683, God War. Are you tired of living and want to die soon? Looking at the figure rushing towards the flame, the sun god made a disdainful voice. But the distance between the two was still closing rapidly from the previous confrontation. I understand that continuing to hide will only lead to death. But if I face the challenge when you attack, I will have a glimmer of hope. He let the golden flames fall on his body, and the sprinting action was not hindered at all, and the speed was even faster. Impossible, he can't move so fast underwater. The sun god hurriedly wanted to leave the current position. My body is not well yet, not suitable for close combat. Just when he urged his divine power to leave, the surrounding sea currents entangled him and prevented him from leaving here. The sun god said that he was a little panicked. Damn it, is this his spell? No, if that was the case, I would have noticed it. Damn it, this is not a spell. He finally remembered that in addition to his main target, there was also a telekinetic master here. Just now, his attention was all on the child in front of him, and the telekinetic master should have taken the opportunity to blend into the surrounding environment. You can't escape. In Yu and Daz's hand, the black blade swallowed up the surrounding light. Now I will send you into eternal darkness. You'd better take care of yourself first. The hands of the sun god began to burn a lot of golden flames, all thrown at Yu and Daisuke. As long as I burn you to ashes before you come over, then you won't be any threat to me. The golden flames hit Yu and Daisuke accurately, and the sun god breathed a sigh of relief. This time, the other party would definitely not survive. Ordinary flames could not even resist the god of truth with magic resistant skin. Now the flames like a sea of fire fell on him, a mortal, and there was absolutely no way to survive. Next, he had to shift his attention to the nearby spiritualist. This guy attached his consciousness to the ocean, which was indeed a way to restrain him. However, it was not completely without targeted methods. He had fought in the ocean many times, and had rich experience. Just when he was about to solve the trouble here at once, he suddenly felt cold in his heart. Something is wrong. The child doesn't seem to be dead yet. The man with flames all over his body was still approaching here at a high speed, and the distance between them was so far that he couldn't escape. Regardless of his own horror, he quickly mobilized the power of the sun god to wrap himself tightly. Although he called himself a god, he would die. The dark blade brought a shadow and stabbed the sun god's chest fiercely. The flame barrier suddenly cracked a little, but unfortunately his strength was still a little lacking. What a pity, you missed the best opportunity to kill me. The sun god stretched out his hand to grab the dark blade, and the other hand was ready to wipe him out. Although I don't know why you survived my attack, you are already very good to have done this step. The sun god's hand grabbed Yu and Daz's face, and one hand just wrapped his face completely, and then the golden flame ignited. Now there was madness in his eyes. At this point, there was no turning back, and he succeeded. As he was immersed in the joy of victory, he suddenly felt a chill in his chest. This feeling was as refreshing as eating a box of ice cream in the summer, which made people linger for a long time. He subconsciously looked at his chest, but found that the dark blade had pierced his chest at some point. What's going on? He looked at the handle of the dark blade in astonishment. In addition to Yu and Daz's hands, there were two more water-like hands. I said before when fighting the god of truth, that when a person's attention is all on attacking, he will definitely reveal a flaw. The four hands added strength again. Now that you have withdrawn some of your strength to attack, can you still resist the combined attack of the two of us? This time, the sun god clearly felt that the dark blade pierced his sternum, and he felt fear. Damn scum. Flames burst out of his hands like an explosion, and the impact force pulled the distance between the two, and gave him a chance to breathe. When the two separated, Yu and Daz's face had a charred palm print. The sun god's fiery palm just now was not pleasant. The sun god stared at the human in front of him. Impossible. How could you not die after being burned by the fire of the sun? And as he patted his cloak which was still burning, this is all thanks to it. Otherwise I would have been burned to death by you. Speaking of this cloak, the sun god focused his attention on it. Sun gem. You use that thing to absorb some of my energy. No, even if that is the case, there are not many materials that can withstand the burning of my flames. How did you get it? And as he showed a pure smile. Sorry, I forgot to tell you, this cloak was not black before. It used to be golden yellow, very beautiful. By the way, the previous name of this cloak was the Embrace of the Dawn Goddess. Mentioning this name, the sun god instantly recalled the civil war and the bright backstab that the Dawn Goddess gave him. I see. The sun god understood instantly. The things of those two cousins are all on you? The energy in the sun god's body was recharged again. If it weren't for the goddess of dawn, I wouldn't have been injured in that war of gods. Today I want to settle all the old scores with you. After saying that, he stretched out his hand and slowly and firmly pulled out the dark blade on his chest. The blade was still stained with golden blood. At the same time, another cut on his chest slowly opened, and this time he was more seriously injured. The things left by the goddess of night are really powerful. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. This thing is not worth keeping. After saying that, the sun god exerted force with both hands and broke the dark blade that had been with Yu and Dazi for a long time into two halves. I know very well what metal the night goddess's wand is made of. The biggest feature of this metal is that its hardness will decrease rapidly when it encounters high temperature and strong light. After saying that, he casually threw the dark blade that was broken into two pieces aside. But it seems that the two cousins should be dead, right? Maybe. Yu and Dazi had to take out the last offensive magic weapon beside him, the Archangel's wand. Seeing this, the sun god chuckled. I really saw a lot of familiar things on you today. It's a pity that it's not that wand. Yu and Dazi didn't answer, and the wand in his hand drew a mark on the seabed. The temperature of the nearby seawater dropped a lot in an instant. Since there was no close-range weapon, he could only transform the battlefield to make it more suitable for him to fight. Chapter 684, Moths to Flame. Feeling the change in the temperature around him, the sun god was not surprised at all, because now he had decided to use the power he had hidden to completely wipe out the two people. Yu and Dazi made the temperature around him super cold, and ice cubes emerged from the seawater and began to surround the sun god. Just this little trick? The sun god chuckled. You really overestimate your own strength. As he spoke, he waved his hand casually, and Yu and Daz's pupils shrank suddenly. He felt the most extreme threat. What should I do? I can't escape. Yu and Daz's heart gradually tightened, looking at the light from his fingertips. I can't find it. I can't find any way to avoid it. The surrounding light spots condensed into a beam in an instant and flew towards Yu and Dazi at a speed far exceeding the previous flame, so fast that even his body couldn't react. The surrounding water suddenly hit Yu and Dazi hard from his left side, causing his body to barely deviate a little. The beam of light ruthlessly passed through Yu and Daz's body, leaving a coin-sized hole on his left arm. Dekisugi, who was standing next to him, asked hurriedly, "Are you okay, Dazi-kun? I think you looked a little strange just now." Because Yu and Dazi was locked in the killing intent of the sun god, his consciousness was frozen, and he couldn't react, but Dekisugi, who had been observing the battle, could. Seeing that this spiritualist had repeatedly obstructed him, the sun god had already become murderous. He originally only wanted to take away the soul, but now it seemed that he had to kill them all together. In addition to the flame that burns everything, the power of the sun also includes the light that purifies the soul and gives life. As he spoke, his figure suddenly became taller. You, a small soul body, will turn into ashes under the light. Then 1,000-foot light burst out from the body of the sun god, almost covering the entire seabed, causing all the thinking creatures nearby to close their eyes. At this moment, they seemed to have seen the sun, unable to look directly at the warm light. You wish. Do you really think we don't exist? Yu and Dazi raised the Archangel's staff in his right hand. Elemental magic, darkness summon. This magic is similar to the cold current. It is a skill used by dark sorcerers to create venues. It is the only magic that can be used. This sentence seemed to open the door to another world. The originally bright underground gradually became shadowy, and countless dark spirits began to emerge. But it could only do this. All the dark elemental spirits were burned to ashes by the sun's light as soon as they appeared, without a trace of residue. I didn't expect that his physical condition can already mobilize such a powerful force. This is really troublesome. The voice of the soul-devouring monument appeared in Yu and Daz's ears. This kind of light is extremely lethal to pure spirits and aliens. He seemed to have thought of something, and immediately began to sense the surrounding situation, and found that the surrounding ice was melting rapidly. And along with the ice, the breath of Chumushin also disappeared. He had no way to recondense his body under this condition. At the same time, King Guy below also let out a roar of being unable to bear the weight, and the skin on his body quickly cracked and fell off. It seems that, although the magic pattern carved on his body can hide from the world, it still can't escape the supervision of the sun. No, there must be a chance. Yu and Daz's magic power rushed into the magic wand frantically. As long as I can create some shadows for them, they will not die. The dark spirits became more and more, but Yu and Daz was even more desperate, because these spirits only increased the area of darkness a little bit. Ling Feng also talked freely. Give up. He is not in this state that you can beat. When using light, even part of his body has turned into photons. You can't do anything with him in this state, unless you suddenly have extremely rich dark energy around you, or you also use a lot of light energy to break his barrier. After listening to his words, Yu and Daz could only admit that he couldn't do it. Now he couldn't control the light element around him, and couldn't launch an attack. Sorry, Dazzy, I have to go first. Chumushin's voice appeared in his ears. There shouldn't be a chance to survive this time, right? He could see the current situation clearly. The best way was for Yu and Dazzy to escape by himself using space ability. If he really did that, Chumushin would feel a little comforted. At least his side was not completely wiped out. Dazzy, if you can survive in the future, don't think about revenge. That's too violent. I don't like it. By the way, if my parents encounter any difficulties at that time, please help me take care of them. If it's you, there must be a way. There must be a chance. Yu and Dazzy listened to Chumushin's voice getting smaller and smaller, and anger and helplessness gradually rushed out of his heart. Old man, if I sacrifice the soul crystal, do you have a way to use its power to break through the defense of the sun god? Don't you understand? These lights are very harmful to pure souls. Even I can't break through his defense now. Ling Feng tried to comfort him. Leave first. Becoming stronger is the only way you can avenge them. While speaking, the old man glanced at King Guy below. Now his skin has cracked, but no blood has flowed out, just like the land that has not seen rain for many years. Less than 10 seconds after the sun god turned into a light source, he was about to lose to companions. Ling Feng couldn't accept it either. Suppressing the unhappiness in his heart, Ling Feng persuaded again. Let's go. This is the road they opened up for you with their lives. If they die now, then the sun god will no longer have any scruples, and Yu and Daz will not be his opponent. No, I can't leave. He stood up. If I leave today, this day will become my eternal nightmare. He picked up the archangel's staff and poured all his magic power into the staff. Rather than living with this guilt, I might as well die with them. Old man, all my power is in it. You can find a suitable person to continue your journey of revival. After that, he created a space crack. You left a mark on it. I believe you will find a way to find it. After that, he threw the staff into the space crack without any regrets, and the sun god's kid would never find it. Alas, it is really a luxury to want a living being to remain rational. The old man no longer stopped him. At this moment, he had basic respect for these people. After doing all this, Yu and Daz picked up the broken sword blade and rushed towards the sun at the bottom of the sea. Don't you just want the soul? Your grandpa has brought it to you. After saying that, he pounced on the sun emitting infinite light like a moth to a flame and vowed to live and die with them today. Chapter 685 Disruption. Seeing his determination, the sun god also focused his attention on him. HMPH, you are an overconfident guy. Since you are so determined to die, I will satisfy you. As he spoke, his light became brighter and brighter, and even humans tended to be purified. In the process of approaching the sun, his skin was gradually dried and peeled off. The sunlight had exceeded the limit of his body. It doesn't matter. I don't care if I'm dried into a mummy. There is only one thing I want to do now, which is to punch you hard in the face. The way to self-destruction. Looking at Gian as he who was still approaching, he suddenly felt a little admiration and yearning in his heart. Why are his people always scheming against each other, only for their own interests, and regardless of the safety of others? Why has he lived in this world for so long, but he has not even met someone he can trust with his back? Even the woman he trusts most, the cousin of the goddess of dawn, can stab him in the back for him. He has lived in this world for so long, but he can't even compare to a few teenagers? Is this really right? Why is this? The sun god looked at Yu and Azhi who was still approaching. Why can't we gods fight for our companions like this child? Thinking of this, the light around him became weaker. Noticing something unusual, he quickly adjusted his state to avoid missing anything. It seems that I'm really old. I have become as sentimental as humans. But these ant-like things also have their shining points. Sun god, this sword is for me to repay you. Yu and Azhi finally rushed in front of him and stabbed the broken sword with force. The sun god shook his head slightly. It's useless. You have lost all your strength now and can't touch me at all. Puff. As soon as the voice fell, the broken sword pierced his abdomen steadily, and the sun god at the bottom of the sea was obviously stunned. That doesn't make sense. I'm still in the holy sun state. You should have been purified by the light when you approached me, right? Not only him, but also Yu and Azhi in the soul-devouring monument on the opposite side were stunned. No way. It actually worked. At that time, Yu and Azhi was just thinking about revenge and didn't expect to succeed. Did he just burst out with some unknown power? No, it's not you. The sun god suddenly understood. Why is the dark energy around so much suddenly? At this time, the surrounding sea water had turned black, and the rich dark power was flowing in the water, like a deadly venom quietly flowing beside them. Hahaha, Buaijin, am really born to be a king. Now that I have the mermaid sword, even gods have to surrender to me. Buaijin held the mermaid sword in his only remaining left hand, and appeared in front of everyone again. Why don't you show your loyalty to me? I'm afraid this person is mentally ill. Yu and Azhi and the sun god looked at this idiot, and their eyes lost color. A mermaid actually dared to go crazy with two strong men who could kill him at any time, just because he had a good weapon in his hand? Idiot, hurry up. The anxious voice of the soul-devouring monument appeared in his ears. Hurry up and stab a few more times now. What are you still standing here for? Yes, I almost forgot. Yu and Azhi pulled out the dark blade without hesitation and stabbed it into his abdomen again. When the dark blade stabbed him for the second time, the sun god finally reacted. This shameless thing actually took action again. Damn, why are you so immoral? There seemed to be a holy fire in his eyes. Shouldn't we kill the blasphemer first at this time? Sorry, compared to dealing with Buaijin, I want to keep myself alive. Yu and Azhi shamelessly stabbed him again. The sun god grabbed his hand. Damn, you still want to come? I really shouldn't have felt pity for you just now. Yu and Azhi wanted to take advantage of his physical advantage to pull out and stab again, but he found that this guy's hand strength was actually greater than he thought. You won't let me pull it out? No problem. His wrist turned mercilessly, causing the knife to cause greater damage in the opponent's body. Asshole. The sun god kicked Yu and Azhi in the abdomen, and the cracked skin fell off. Now his condition was very bad. Not only did the dark blade detonate his old wounds, but the sunlight around him dissipated, and he couldn't replenish his divine power. In every sense, he was in a trough. At this time, Yu and Azhi was like a mummy, with cracked lips, skin gradually falling off, and blood slowly flowing into the ocean. But he was not sad, but a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. That's great. Thanks to Buaijin, I didn't expect that one day I would be able to receive his help. You will pay the price for your actions. The sun god slowly pulled out the dark blade. Now he was seriously injured, and even his basic ability to move has become much weaker. At this moment, the surrounding water seemed to have life, and with the power of the sun god, it thrust the sword back again. When he found out, the dark blade had already appeared on his right chest, breaking two of his ribs. Hey, don't forget that we are still here. Chumushin's voice became smaller and smaller, so small that even the sun god could hardly hear it. He coughed twice, and blood kept flowing out of the corners of his mouth. I didn't expect that I, the sun god, would almost fall here. After only a few seconds, the wound on his abdomen, stabbed by Yu and Dazi, had already shown signs of healing. The serious injury effect of the dark blade was not fully exerted because of the shattered magic pattern. Ahem, if I hadn't broken this sword, if that guy hadn't sent energy into the void for some reason just now. The sun god coughed heavily. Forget it, the people here should have lost their ability to move now. Let's get down to business. After saying that, he quickly approached Yu and Dazi, grabbed his body, and released his relatively intact mental power to invade his sea of consciousness. Damn. Chumushin watched from the side, but found that he no longer had much strength to move. Damn it, it was just a little short. Chumushin had too much power purified just now, and could only watch the sun god do evil. Humph, I wish you to be eaten by the senior. King Guy watched from below as an illusory spiritual power pierced into Yu and Dazi's sea of consciousness, and hurriedly wanted to go up to help. But as soon as he stood up, his feet knelt down weakly. He also lost a lot of blood, and temporarily lost his ability to move. If the sun god had not confirmed that these two guys would not be a threat, he would not dare to do such a risky thing until now. As for Doraemon and the others, they were busy entangled with Buijin, and were also unable to join the battle, which led to this situation. The soul-devouring monument was fully on guard against the spiritual invasion of the sun god. The opponent's spiritual power was almost intact, and he was not very sure that he could hold it, so he made up his mind not to take action if he could. As long as he was not exposed, then they did not lose. Chapter 686 Endgame. The tentacles of the sun god's spiritual power easily passed through his thought storm and came to the sea of consciousness. The soul-devouring monument hid deeper. He had to go all out to reach the other person's realm. If he went deep into the memory, the old man would be sure to keep him. Who knew that this time the sun god had no intention of exploring the other person's memory at all, and rushed directly to the soul that had been sleeping in his sea of consciousness. Seeing that he was about to succeed, the sun god finally smiled. This is it. As long as I have it, I can become the leader of the gods. At that time, even if those two guys don't like me, they must recognize my position. I will lead the entire god clan to revive. After capturing this soul, the sun god withdrew from here without any nostalgia, and even had no idea of destroying this place. The soul-devouring monument behind him also breathed a sigh of relief. It seems that he doesn't intend to explore the child's memory. This is good news. If he insists on exploring, then the old man will have to do something shameful. But at this time, the sun god's physical condition was not good, and there were two bombs next to him that could be restored at any time, so he didn't dare to stay. After exiting Yu and Dazi's sea of consciousness, the sun god took the soul into his body. After so long, we finally meet again. But he soon found something wrong. Strange. Why is there something strange in here? Is it from that guy? The sun god looked at Yu and Dazi suspiciously. If it was a backup left by this guy, then he should be careful. Should I destroy it directly? The sun god thought for a while and shook his head. No, it will be more difficult to clean up the soul fragments after crushing them. Thinking of this, he planned to take the soul back first, and then slowly clean up the soul and the eyes inside. Yu and Dazi put the eye of Medusa in the soul before, mainly to remove the negative influence of the frenzy in the eye of Medusa. Of course, in addition to this, it also served as a seal for the soul, just to disgust the golden soul that specifically opposed him. But what Yu and Dazi didn't expect was that this time it was lost along with the soul in the battle with the sun god. The sun god looked at the half-conscious Yu and Dazi with hatred. You are lucky this time. I don't have the power to kill you. I won't let you live next time. At this time, he could clearly feel that the mental power of the child nearby was recovering, and he would be able to fight again in a short time. And he himself was seriously injured. Even if he could kill him in a weak state, it would not be worth the loss. It would be better to go back and recover and absorb the power of the soul. As long as he succeeds, why should he take these ant-like creatures seriously? Thinking of this, the sun god sneered and began to fly upwards. As long as he left the dark ocean, it would still be his world. Damn it. King Gaio pounded the ground fiercely. I'm really useless. I didn't do anything. At this moment, a foot kicked him hard in the face. Hit me. Why don't you come and hit me? Buwaijin picked up the mermaid sword and stood in front of him. Now these superpowers are all lambs to be slaughtered. Everyone, kill those extraordinary humans first, including the light ball that is flying upwards. If they really escape today, it will have a great impact on my subsequent plans. As he spoke, Buwaijin swung his sword fiercely at the sun god. The surrounding seawater formed a huge vortex, covering the vicinity of the sun god. He was attacked without any preparation, and was swept to the bottom of the sea. The sun god stood up, and touched the mud on his face, but his face was almost as black as the mud. This guy, I really gave you face today. Then he looked at the space crack next to him, that had not yet healed. It's a close call. If I fell into this crack, I might not be able to come back. Thinking of this, he mobilized a trace of the power of the sun god even more angrily. So you, the blasphemer, die. Buwaijin was still immersed in the vortex of power he controlled, and a golden flame suddenly fell on him. What is this? Is it from that golden group? He reached out and touched the flame on his waist. It is indeed extremely weak. Even the flame is so weak. As soon as the voice fell, the golden flame suddenly surged, covering Buwaijin in the violent flame. What is this? The figure in the flames wailed in pain. Help, who will save me? I don't want anything. The throne of the strange fish tribe, the king of the deep sea, the treasure of our entire race, I will give it all to you, as long as someone saves me. Everyone present chose to stand by and watch. What a joke. Whoever saves him in this situation will die here. And can the promise made by the other party in this situation really be trusted? According to Buwaijin's character, he will probably choose to regret it. Only a fool will save him. The sacred flame continued to burn, and even the surrounding seawater became fuel, just to eliminate the sin of this person's blasphemy. Seeing the reactions of the people around him, his eyes burned by the flames gradually lost focus, and he knew that he would die today. Finally, Buwaijin raised the holy sword under everyone's gaze. I curse the person who gets this sword, unless he can kill God. After saying this, Buwaijin's body completely turned into ashes, and the dark breath lingered on the mermaid sword. The people around saw the sword slowly fall into the ground, and no one dared to pick up this evil sword. Ahem. Are you finally dead, heretic? The sun god was ready to fly into the air again. Then it's almost time for me to go home. No one should stop me, right? He glanced at the people around him, and all the creatures lowered their heads, not daring to look at the gods. At this moment, Doraemon suddenly jumped up. Ha ha ha, it's so itchy. Who came from my pocket this time? A child's head stretched out from the pocket. It's here, woo woo. And then immediately retracted. The sun god was stunned for a moment. Did something just pop up? Forget it. I'd better go back and recover from my injuries quickly. At this moment, Doraemon's pocket bulged again, and two people crawled out of his pocket, and the surrounding water seemed to have spirits and avoided them. Really, I almost drowned here. Shizuka's voice reached the ears of everyone present. Then everyone heard Lizanayu's complaining voice. How do I know this will be the bottom of the sea? They went to the bottom of the sea for adventure without telling us. While speaking, Lizanayu took out a talisman and stuck it on his forehead. Okay, this will allow us to see things clearly in the dark. No need, my ability is to control the darkness. This is simply my paradise. Shizuka pushed away Lizanayu's talisman. Okay, little Doraemon, we have confirmed what you said, and I really have to thank you, Yonjin. Chapter 687 Escape. The sun god felt the aura of the other party, which was weaker than that of Yu and Dazi and the others, but it was fatal to him who had lost the sunlight and was seriously injured. No, I have to find a way to leave, and I have to act quickly. I must get there before the other party finds out the truth. From the 2 or 3 sentences just now, he could tell that these two people were friends of Yu and Dazi, so he couldn't be entangled by them. So the sun god mobilized less divine power and moved forward slowly, just to avoid emitting light in the process. What happened to Yu and Dazi? Shizuka looked at Doraemon next to him. Why did the auras of the three of them become so weak? Doraemon briefly summarized what happened. Because they just had a fight with a man who claimed to be the sun god, and that's how it became. A man who claimed to be the sun god. Shizuka and Lizanai were shocked. How could one person knock down all three of them? Doraemon nodded. Yes, but the sun god has been seriously injured and should have almost lost his fighting ability. I see. Then I have found him. Shizuka's eyes were on the person who was slowly rising in the distance. That person was the most suspicious. Lizanayu, go and treat them. Shizuka rushed to the sun god with a bunch of water repellent talismans. Leave that guy to me. Hearing this, the sun god gritted his teeth. Damn it, I was so careful, but he still found me. My physical condition is very poor now. I can't fight for a long time. With a change of mind, the sun god made a decision to leave here at full speed. But the dark power here is too strong, and he must wait until he is out of the seawater before he can turn into light and move forward at full speed. At this moment, the seawater above him formed a water column, which ruthlessly washed the body of the sun god and prevented him from leaving. Damn spiritualist. The sun god desperately flew upwards, and then he suddenly covered his chest. Damn, how can the dark power erode my body? Generally speaking, spiritualists cannot mobilize nearby energy, and the core area they control is the material world. The sun god suddenly thought of the boy who just said that his ability is darkness. Could it be that he did it? If that's the case, his current situation may be more serious than he expected, because this is the home of the dark world. While his thoughts were flying, Shizuka had already approached the sun god, and the greedy blade stabbed the scar on the opponent's chest frantically. Knowing that the opponent's strength is far superior to his own, but just in a situation, attacking the large wound on the opponent's body is the most effective way of attack. Arsehole. The sun god, who discovered the opponent's intention, quickly used his hand to resist the opponent's blade to prevent him from stabbing into his chest. No, I must not let him succeed. If the power of the goddess of night explodes again, my body may not be able to bear it. When he was stabbed by Yu and Daisuke and Emushan together before, the energy left in his body by the goddess of night exploded once, and this time it must not work. Unfortunately, the sun god was already exhausted after the fierce battle, and was forced to retreat again and again by Shizuka and Emushan. Yanjin, are you okay? Lizanayu swam to his side, took out a few talismans, and began to summon his soul. It's okay, his soul is not out of the body, he can't die. The soul-devouring monument inside laughed softly. Just kidding. If his soul really left the body, it wouldn't be your turn to pull him back. Then Lizanayu went to confirm the conditions of several other people. Although the physical injuries are very serious, they can't die. The sun god above retreated again and again, and finally discovered one thing. Behind him was the space crack. Damn, is this your real plan? He looked at the child in front of him in horror. The two guys were too similar. They would do anything to win. Yes, I told him this. Demishan's voice appeared in front of him. I'm not dead yet, so don't talk to yourself casually. When he said that he couldn't come back after falling into the space crack, Demishan had been listening quietly beside him, recording his every word. Arsehole. The sun god suddenly burst out with an incomparable light. Don't think I'm easy to bully just because I'm seriously injured. In such a dazzling light, Shizuka couldn't help but retreat from the sun god. His energy characteristics were very afraid of sunlight, and Emushan had to shrink to Shizuka. Lend me your body to hide for a while. His sunlight can purify the spirit. Okay, do me a favor by the way. With the help of Emushan, Shizuka's soul control range was greatly improved. Then he stretched out his hand, and all the dark energy with a radius of 2 kilometers was mobilized in his hand, forming an energy ball with countless wriggling tentacles. I have gathered so much dark energy, enough to pollute his own soul. The person who is hit will inevitably fall into darkness. As he spoke, Shizuka threw the dark energy ball at the still glowing sun god. He will definitely not be able to escape. Unexpectedly, the sun god smiled. Yes, I really can't escape, but as long as something is hit, it's fine. As he spoke, he took out the divine soul from his soul and placed it in front of him. Use this thing as a sacrifice. The black energy ball hit the divine soul, and then it turned into wisps of black mist that melted into the soul, completely polluting him from the inside out, turning him into a member of the darkness. Thank that child for finding this sacrifice for me. The sun god looked at the polluted soul without any panic. Because there are two souls in it, the darkness will start to pollute from the other person who is at the core, but the easiest to pollute. After saying that, his soul went deep into the soul of that person and pulled it out. In this way, I only need to keep the part that is needed. Most of the dark energy was stripped away with Zhang Shan's departure, and only a small part of the darkness remained in the soul. Shizuka saw this scene and was so angry that his teeth itched. Damn it, I finally mobilized so much energy. The sun god continued, and you mobilized too much power just now, and the dark energy nearby temporarily disappeared, and you also lost the means of long range attack. Even the spiritualist lost the power that he had accumulated with great difficulty and needed to cultivate. You can't do anything to me. Then he pointed to the sky and said, and what you shouldn't do the most is to extract the part of dark energy connected to the sea level. After saying that, he casually threw the man's soul into the space crack behind him. Let him fend for himself now. Shizuka didn't care about so much and rushed to the sun god again. If he left, he would definitely be a disaster. Unexpectedly, the sun god unceremoniously stuffed the spirit into his own soul, absorbing the extremely weak spirit eroded by darkness to suppress the wound, and then he turned into a ray of light and soared into the sky, leaving this land. Damn, their efforts were all in vain. Shizuka beat the surrounding stones in frustration. He could have killed this scourge. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 688, Sword Named Star. The battle here came to an end. Both sides had gains and losses, and it was hard to say who was the final winner. The body of the sun god suffered unprecedented damage, but with the help of the soul, it would not take too long to recover. And as his body was damaged, and his staff was temporarily lost, but no one died, and he retained his main combat power. The battle below was still going on. The strange fish tribe had lost their leader, but their artillery advantage was still there, and there were still more than 100 warships with combat effectiveness. The mermaid tribe had less than 10 warships left, and the artillery strength of the two was not at the same level. They had no way to compete with the other side's fleet. Shizuka swam to Yu and Daisuke. How is your body now? Can you move by yourself? Nonsense. If I could move, would I still be lying here? The weak voice of complaining sounded, leaving the two at a loss. He finally regained some consciousness because of the withdrawal of the sun god, but now he couldn't move at all, and the source of life was damaged again. Okay, I'll just take a break here. You take this thing and help the mermaids. They can't hold on any longer. And as he moved his mind and the cloak on his body, took the initiative to spit out the Gatling gun. He believed that he would be able to exert the power of this weapon. Don't worry, it's just a small matter. He picked up the Gatling gun and rushed to the battlefield. The black light bloomed again on the seabed. Then the voice of the cloak came from Yu and as his soul. I have gained a lot of benefits from the sun flame. I need to sleep for a while. I heard that you can actually say a complete sentence now. Yu and as he waved his hand, signaling it to rest. Then he asked Old Man Ling, do you have a way to get back the staff in the space crack? I want to take back my power. Yes, but not now. Your body is on the verge of breaking. Forcibly absorbing power will only accelerate your death. The surrounding sea water slowly gathered and turned into the appearance of Chumushin, and then sat on a nearby rock, holding his head and breathing heavily. My soul has been damaged to some extent. I need to rest for a while. From now on, it's up to you. As he said that, Chumushin fell to the ground. He had been holding on since his soul was burned by the sun. What a heavy loss. And as he sighed on the ground, I have to thank Buijin a lot. The old man also sighed. Yes, if he hadn't cracked the holy sun form at the critical moment, I might have to take your staff and choose another successor. King Gyu, who was on the ground, slowly stood up, covering his arm. The wound burned by the sun's fire had not recovered. There were also traces of sunburn on his body. This kind of damage to the origin of life really couldn't be recovered in a short time. The most unwilling person in this battle was King Gyu, because he was not able to participate in the frontal battlefield, since he was injured by the sun god at the beginning. This is a high-ranking god among the gods. He is completely suppressed in strength. There is no way to fight him. He walked towards the mermaid sword not far away. Let's get this sword first. Everyone is injured like this. We must take some trophies from the gods here. After saying that, his hand touched the dark golden mermaid sword, and the black airflow on the sword tried to penetrate his body. TSK, is it the resentment left by that guy Buijin? As he spoke, his demonic power vibrated. You are also worthy of polluting me? This kind of resentment is indeed fatal to ordinary people, but with enough powerful power, it is just an inconspicuous smoke. But when he activated his demonic power, the skin on his arm fell off again, looking extremely miserable. Finally got it. Just for this sword, we were harmed like this. It's a big loss. King Gaiu swam towards Yu and Dazi with this golden holy sword. He actually didn't like this sword. He preferred his fist as a weapon. But just as he was swimming upwards, the holy sword suddenly slashed, leaving a faint wound on his leg. What happened? He looked at his hand in confusion. Did my hand slip? But with my strength, it should be impossible. Shaking his head, he continued to swim forward, not taking this small wound to heart. When he arrived in front of Yu and Dazi, King Gaiu's body was already covered with various wounds and marine creatures, looking extremely miserable. What's wrong with you? Yu and Dazi looked at King Gaiu, who was covered in wounds. Why do these fish attack you crazily when they know they can't bite you? At this time, his carnivorous fish were biting his arm, but the broken teeth could not leave any marks on his hand. King Gaiu shook her head. I don't know. From just now, I felt a kind of hostility towards me here. I don't know where it comes from. The soul-eating monument immediately took it seriously. No, we have to find a way to send him back to Chumushin's house. Otherwise he will die sooner or later. The old man looked at King Gaiu's peeling skin. The magic patterns on his body were washed away by the sunlight, and some of your magic patterns have become ineffective. And as he slowly stood up with the help of the mermaid sword, but my body can't accept magic power. Naturally there is no way to recarve it. The old man forcibly awakened the dark star cloak, who had not slept for long. Get up. There is something you must do here. Hearing such an urgency, the cloak had to wake up from his deep sleep. What happened? Can't even you handle it? No time to explain. Send this child back first. The old man killed the creature on King Gaiu's body, and then pushed him into the cloak. Just send him back. I have set up magic patterns at home. You don't have to worry about the rest. King Gaiu, you should recover from your injuries at home first, and don't go out. King Gaiu nodded in the cloak, and then her body was wrapped in darkness and quickly disappeared in the dark seabed. Watching him leave, Yu and as he clenched the mermaid sword, and the sword body turned dark gold, with no intention of changing back. Hey, it seems that my heart is also very dark, but I have never been a person in the light camp. After saying that, he swung the sword heavily, and the surrounding sea water seemed to be attracted to flow along his sword blade, ruthlessly washing the warships of the monster fish clan. At this time, Yu and as he suddenly had a glimmer of enlightenment in his heart, looking at this holy sword in disbelief. This is not a mermaid sword at all. Absolutely not. He looked at the gem in the middle, and in a trance he saw countless stars flashing. This gem is called Star. Chapter 689 Triumph. They also didn't expect that in a seemingly simple adventure story, there would be such a terrifying magic weapon. But it's true, this thing can be said to be one of the most powerful weapons in all adventures, and it's normal to have such powerful properties. After holding it, Yu and Dazi curiously inserted the blade into the ground. Let me try its power. I advise you not to. The voice of Old Man Ling appeared again to remind him, with your current body, you can't bear the power of the stars at all. That's right, it seems that this sword can only be covered in dust, alas. He put the sword on the ground helplessly, and then absorbed power through mental power to recover. Now that his cultivation has been lost, he can only randomly extract a little magic power to restore his body. Anyway, it's not a spell for fighting. However, the strength of his mental power and body is much stronger than before. In just a few seconds, he extracted enough magic power to cast a first level spell. The old man suddenly thought, by the way, you can engrave the natural seal now, maybe it will succeed. You mean the super complicated one? Yu and Dazi was stunned for a moment. This seems to be a very suitable time. It just so happened that there was a vacancy in his own law. Now he could start from the beginning and naturally choose the appropriate law. And the law of nature is undoubtedly one of the highest laws. That's right. The old man was very sure you should have tried it the first time, but because your mental power could not support the writing, you were forced to give up that law. Haha, just say it. Why do you want to insult me? After complaining, he immediately devoted himself to writing the seal. He had tried to write nature in the third seal of the first level before, but was discouraged by the complicated circuit. Now both mental power and magic power have far exceeded the standards of the first level, just right to write those that he didn't have the opportunity to write before. After a while, he successfully engraved nature, and then cast his goal on other seals, intending to write some better ones. Enough, stop here. The soul-devouring monument reminded again, if you still want to inherit the original energy, you can only engrave this one. Because the original him only had one law vacancy left, if he engraved more, then there is a great possibility that his previous strength would be lost. Even if he wanted to rebuild, the soul-devouring monument would not agree, because of the problem with the technique. His life could not support the second advancement. There was no other way. Yu and Daisy had to use the little magic power he had to nourish his body and speed up the recovery of his injuries. Not long after, Shizuka came to visit him. The remaining monster fish tribes have all been dealt with. It's really exhausting. Then he took out a little Dora from his arms. By the way, this robot is back to you. I'm going to absorb the dark energy nearby. Yu and Daisy called him here because there was a lot of dark energy enriched here, so naturally he would not stop him at this time. Nobita and the others also came over. Yu and classmate, how is your health now? I have a universal medicine box here. Do you want to take a look? No, I know my physical condition myself. Yu and Daisy shook his head. Ordinary medicine could not cure him. The three of us are injured, but none of them are fatal. We just need to calm down and rest for a while. Seeing him say this, the others no longer insisted, believing that they would not joke about their own lives. At this time, the mermaids came with a few stretchers and carried them up, preparing to send them to the kingdom for them to rest. Nobita and his men followed the only 5 remaining warships and marched towards the mermaid palace with the main force. Although they won, the sacrifices in this battle were too great. Even as the victors, there was no smile on the faces of the soldiers. Sophia sighed, if possible, I really don't want the country to go to war again. Little Harry stood beside her and comforted her softly. There will be no more wars. The monster fish tribe has been wiped out. We don't have to worry anymore. Sophia nodded. Yes, but the question is, should we go back to Blue Mercury or stay here? They grew up here since they were young. It is impossible to say that they have no feelings for the earth. She also has a strong sense of belonging to her hometown, Blue Mercury. Shizuka came up quickly. Are you going back? But we've only known each other for 2 days, and we are going to be separated forever. Gian, and as he on the stretcher, raised his hand and said weakly, no need to force us to stay. Haven't we experienced enough separations? Shizuka was silent for a while, then nodded. That's true. We have seen so many beautiful scenery now. Why force us to stay? TSK, you still want to go back? Now there are only monsters left on Blue Mercury. Who gives you the courage to go back? A strange fish prisoner looked at them unconvinced. If you have the ability to purify the filth, then go back. The water there is so black that even we don't want to go down. I think I can help with this. And as he sat up again, I found a way to purify the water. He took out the Gatling gun from his cloak again, opened the cover on the surface, and took out the black orb from it. This thing is called the Source of Darkness. It can absorb and store a large amount of dark energy. You can use this bead to purify sewage. And its biggest advantage is that it can also provide energy for your machinery, so you can also use the energy of the strange fish tribe. Sophia's eyes lit up. If it is really as magical as he said, then the energy of Blue Mercury can be said to be endless. But she was also a little worried. But are you just giving this thing to me? I always feel that you are at a disadvantage. Don't worry, we are friends. Why do you say so much? Yu and Daisy stuffed the Source of Darkness into her hand without allowing it to be refused. At the same time, he moved the star sword in his dark star cloak inside to avoid being discovered by others. As far as the current situation is concerned, the source of darkness does swim better than the mermaid sword. At least the mermaid sword cannot provide them with energy. I didn't expect you to be so generous. Little Harry looked back at him in surprise. I thought you were going to keep the energy conversion technology secret to death. What a joke. When have I ever treated my friends badly? He said nonsense without blushing or beating his heart. Anyway, he wouldn't be struck by lightning if he said a few words. Walking all the way to the shore of the Mermaid Kingdom, little Harry said goodbye first. I'm going to deal with the prisoners. You can go directly to the palace. Sophia nodded and reached out to touch his head. Little Harry, don't be too harsh on the prisoners. Little Harry didn't say anything. If he wasn't strict, how could he be worthy of their dead comrades? After saying goodbye to them, the others walked towards the palace. His Majesty Undyne had been waiting for them upstairs for a long time. Chapter 690 Return Home. Warriors, welcome back. Wendy took the initiative to greet them. This time, her attitude was obviously different from the last time. Dakshin and the others touched the back of their heads and felt a little embarrassed. No, we just did what we could. Yeah, we've been fighting for so long, and you've basically been paddling the whole time. Yu and Dazhi on the stretcher spit out a lot of complaints. Wendy looked at the winning team and found that the two people lying on the stretchers were the superpowers she disliked the most before. Thank you for your hard work. She took the initiative to walk over and said, I didn't expect you to do this for the mermaids. May the sea god bless you. Yeah, they are really amazing. The others also nodded with deep emotion. Without them this time, they would probably be wiped out at the beginning. Let's go in first. Standing outside is not in line with our etiquette. Wendy turned around and led them to the reception room. The guards handed the stretcher to a few boys. You need to walk the rest of the way by yourselves. We can't go in without being summoned. What? You want me to carry it? Nobita and Doraemon pointed at their noses, looking unconvinced. At this time, Wendy suddenly said, what are you talking about? This is the benefactor of our country. How can you treat him like this? Yes. The two guards immediately carried them in. Not long after, they walked to the familiar stairs. In order to maintain balance, they could only walk sideways. Nobita complained as he walked. Really, why can't the two of them lie on it so leisurely? If there is a choice, I hope you can lie here, and I can still walk. Yu and Dazhi retorted unyieldingly. After going upstairs, Yu and Dazhi and Wendy sat in the main seat and said, the battle was won, and we will hold a celebration ceremony soon. If possible, I hope you can attend this ceremony as a hero, indicating that the mermaids are willing to maintain friendly relations with you humans. We have no problem at all. Nobita and the other 5 immediately nodded and agreed, while sitting in their seats. This is a good thing. But Yu and Dazhi shook his head and refused. Forget it. I and Demushan need to rest for a while. Too much noise is not good for us. Wendy nodded in agreement. This matter cannot be forced. She can't put people on a stretcher and carry them over, right? Then Yu and Dazhi pointed to Doraemon's pocket and said, can you send us back first? I'm a little sleepy too. No problem. Have a good rest after returning. Doraemon took out the door and directly placed the coordinates of this door in Demushan's room. After they were carried away, Yu and Dazhi still reminded them. Also, don't forget Shizuka and the other 2. Don't worry, I won't forget them. The 5 people on the other side smiled and waved, then closed the door and prepared for the celebration ceremony. Yu and Dazhi, who was lying on the bed, released Mini Dora. Little Dora, help me get the bandages downstairs. Dora. Little Dora nodded and ran downstairs on his short legs, looking very cute. Seeing this scene, Yu and Dazhi was relieved to lie on the bed. He was not able to move around easily, and at least he had to wait until the skin on his legs regenerated before he could get out of bed and walk. Not long after, Mini Dora came back with a roll of bandages longer than his hand, followed by Kingayu and Zaozi. Kingayu looked more seriously injured at this time, but the wounds were mainly on his back and arms, so he could still walk by holding the wall. Yu and Dazhi looked at him. How is it? Here you should not feel that you are hostile to the world, right? Kingayu nodded. Yes, I do not feel that way here, but it is not nice to be trapped in a small room. Please, you did not go out much before this. Yu and Dazhi took the bandage and began to bandage his wound. to avoid accidentally touching things. Kingayu tilted his head and thought about it, nodded and affirmed, that makes sense. I did not go out much before. By the way, did you get the so-called mermaid sword back? I feel that the power of the sword seems to be stronger than they think. Speaking of this, Yu and as he remembered to take out the star sword and handed it to Ziozi, put this sword in the training room upstairs. Because of the inlay of the star gem, the natural force can be gathered more quickly around this sword. In other words, wherever there is this sword, it is equivalent to engraving a gathering array, which is of great benefit to the cultivation of the cultivator. Okay, this adventure has come to an end. Everyone recover from their injuries. We don't know when the enemy will attack again. Then he looked at the demon Ziozi. You are responsible for our safety during this period. I believe you can protect our safety. Don't worry, I will complete the task. Ziozi stood up and made a very humane gesture, then went down to monitor the surroundings. With the help of Mini Dora, Yu and as he wrapped all the cracks on himself and Kingayu with bandages. Finally, he gave the rebirth grass to Kingayu and asked him to retreat to the training room upstairs and wait until all the medicinal properties were digested before coming out. This thing is not very helpful for the injuries of the soul, and his own condition is actually better than Kingayu. After all, he has the protection of the cloak. The soul-devouring monument took advantage of their lack of time to secretly go to the outer world, but found that the flame servant Prometheus had disappeared. Did he leave, or was he discovered? The old man looked at the surrounding environment, trying to find some information left behind. After a while, he gently picked up a few sparks. Is this the message he left? Let me see what happened. After a while, Yu and as he below heard the old man's voice. The sun god was seriously injured this time, and he probably won't be able to take care of this place for a while. Yu and as he answered while bandaging Kingayu. Yes, I stabbed him 5 or 6 times, so I must go back to recuperate. I mean, I have to rest too. Old man Ling's words startled him. Did he also have to fall asleep? Now the strength I have recovered is not enough to face those guys, so I have to sleep for a while. You should be in no danger during this time. By the way, you still send me some mental power every day, which will help me recover. When your body has almost recovered, I will wake up and take back the Archangel's staff and continue to sleep when you inherit the power. After that, the old man's voice completely sank, and Yu and as he sighed, hoping that the days to come would really be so smooth. Speaking of which, I'm going to go to Hawaii with them in 6 days. By the end of the trip, my injuries will have almost healed. I'll just treat it as a vacation. Then he glanced at the training room upstairs, but Kingayu probably won't be able to go this time. What a pity. Chapter 691 Encounter. After they treated their wounds, Nobita and Doraemon came to their room and asked them to go back to the past. Yu and as he yawned. Then why do you want to go back to yesterday? Are you bored and want to live one more day? No, we were not at home yesterday. Now mom and the others. Sunia shuddered, as if he remembered something terrible. Fat Tiger also nodded vigorously. The one in his family must be angry now. If he goes back, his life will be in danger. Actually, there is no need to go back. Yu and as he glanced at the unconscious Dekishan, you just need to erase their memories. At this time, they were seriously injured and were not suitable for traveling in a time machine. To be on the safe side, he decided to refuse. Shizuka understood what he meant and nodded in agreement. Okay, we will use the forget grass to make our parents forget about this. The others could only nod their heads to show that they agreed with this matter. Anyway, the effect is similar. After sending them away, Yu and as he looked at Ziozi. Those people just now suddenly reminded him of something he had to do today. Ziozi, go to the back mountain to collect rent now. Yu and as he pointed at his men and said, we are injured now, so it is not convenient for us to go out. If he went to the back mountain in his current state, the probability of the insects attacking back would be very high, and he might not be able to defeat them. Without magic power, his body was seriously injured, and he might not be able to withstand the mother insect of almost level 3 strength. Then he took off the cloak and handed it to Ziozi. Use this thing to cover your body when you come back, so that others don't see you. I know, meow. Zyrozy stretched out her hand and put on the cloak. The way she put on the cloak instantly had a bit of mysterious aura. Watching Zyrozy leave, Yu and Dazi lay down on the bed again and waited for Zyrozy to come back. As long as there was food, the speed of their body healing would increase many times. More than an hour later, Zyrozy brought a few dead segmented insects back to him and then used magic to cook. This is the advantage of the magic side. Even if there is no hand, it can use levitation instead, and it has learned a lot of cooking during this time. Not long after, Zyrozy brought the food to the second floor so that they could enjoy her cooking. After lunch, Yu and Dazi looked at Chumushin on the bed and said to himself, it's been so long, he hasn't woken up yet. Could he really have fallen asleep after recovering? Although he said so, Yu and Dazi had no intention of waking him up. Any injury involving the soul must not be underestimated. Moreover, this time, part of his soul was melted by the holy light of the sun god, and it would take a long time to recover. 7 days had passed in the blink of an eye. During these 7 days, he had been guarding Chumushin by the bed, hoping that he would wake up. The skin on the surface of his body had recovered a part, but his body felt much weaker than before. King Gaiu's situation was similar to his. This was an injury involving the origin of life, which required a lot of life force to nourish it. But now King Gaiu had begun to digest the herbs, and it might not be long before he would return to his peak, so there was no need to rush. He's leaving tomorrow. Yu and as he moved his shoulders, it looks like he won't be able to catch up with our 7-day trip to Hawaii this time. What a pity. If it weren't for the fact that the rebirth grass can't do anything for the soul's injuries, I would really stuff this thing into your mouth. As for why he didn't take the rebirth grass, it was because he thought there was no danger recently and there was no need to waste this life-saving thing. And when he faced the sun god, he chose not to use it because he knew very well that the distance between the two could not be made up by one life. If Buaijin hadn't polluted the ocean in time, they would have been roasted into mummies by the sun god's holy light. And Chumushin, who was fully integrated into the environment, was even worse, and he didn't even leave a corpse to prove his existence. I'm going out for a while. Yu and Dazi changed his clothes. Zyrozy, the 2 children left at home are still left to you to take care of. I know, I'll come back early. Zyrozy licked his paws carelessly. In fact, the 2 children didn't need much care now. Walking on the street, Yu and Dazi looked at the still transparent sky and the still shining sun, and felt an indescribable feeling in his heart. I wonder if the sun god can see us through the sun's sunlight. If so, it would be a big problem. But he quickly denied it. It shouldn't be possible. Otherwise his head would explode just from processing information every day. While talking, he walked towards the nearby supermarket. This time he was going to buy himself some things for traveling. When he passed by the bookstore with a bunch of things, he suddenly stopped. Chuncheng? Daoshi? You are here too. Student Yuan? The 2 of them came over with a few books and were a little surprised to see him carrying a bunch of things. Why are you buying so many things by yourself? Are you guys planning to go on a trip? Where are you going to play? Chuncheng complained disappointedly. We were planning to go out to play, but the adults at home were all busy, so we had to give up. And as he said politely, that's really a pity. If you stay at home for the whole summer vacation and don't go out to play, you might go crazy. Wait a minute. And as he suddenly remembered that there were exactly 2 people here, and they also happened to have 2 people who couldn't go. The tickets had already been bought, so it would be a waste if they didn't go at this time. So he just took them both with him. So he asked, 2 of us can't go. Do you want to go with us? Oh, what a coincidence. The 2 of them were a little bit unbelievable. They didn't expect happiness to come to them so soon. Yes, that's it. And as he nodded vigorously, and this trip is free of charge. Some people have already prepaid the air tickets and room fees. If you don't go, then the prepaid air tickets and room fees will be a waste. Why don't you go out and have fun together? The 2 were silent for a moment, but still did not agree. This matter, we have to discuss it with our parents first. Daoshi also agreed. If their guardians don't agree, we can't go out, even if we want to go. And as he nodded to show his understanding. Okay, then come to my house when you have discussed the result. You should know the address. Well, we'll go back first. Chun-Cheng and Aoshi hurriedly said goodbye to him, and Yu and Dazi also went home after they separated, ready to explain some things. Chapter 692 Personnel Assembly. As soon as he walked to the door, he saw Nobita and Fat Tiger waiting for him downstairs, looking a little happy and anxious. So he took the initiative to walk up to them. Nobita, Fat Tiger, how come you guys suddenly have time to come to visit me? Hehe. Fat Tiger didn't say anything, but smiled and twisted at his door, which made his scalp tingle. Nobita and the others were in a similar state, looking at him with a very eager look, as if they wanted to get something from him. Damn, you guys disgust me. In the hot summer, he shuddered violently at the door. Hurry up, just say what you want. Hearing his energetic voice, everyone restrained their weird smiles and finally planned to talk about business. Although he still looked a little weak, his momentum was no weaker than before. Their business should be stable, right? It's like this, didn't you say before that you would take us on a 7-day trip to Hawaii tomorrow? There won't be any changes, will there? After saying that, Nobita quickly added, if there are changes, we can understand, but we just want to confirm the news. So you came here for this matter? Yu and Dazi sneered. At this time, you still want to go out and play? Do you still have a conscience? When the others saw Yu and Dazi's smile, their mood instantly fell to the bottom. It seems that Izuki is still not awake. However, he cleared his throat and gave them good news. The plan remains unchanged. We will set off at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning as planned. Yeah, great. Several boys jumped up happily in an instant. It turned out that Yu still loves them. Shizuka covered her mouth and smiled, but she was still a little worried. Yu, if we all leave, what will happen to Izuki? Don't worry, I have arranged someone to take care of him, and Kingai will stay too. As he said, he walked to the front and took the key to open the door for everyone to go in. When he walked into the living room, he saw Zyrozy coming out with a roll of gauze with blood stains and put it in a trash can. Seeing this scene, the people behind him felt cold in their hearts. It seems that the injuries they suffered last time were not as simple as they saw. They have not recovered yet. After putting the things away, Yu and Dazi returned to the first floor and served a cup of tea to the students present, plus a plate of freshly bought snacks. You know, Izumi hasn't woken up yet. Kingai can't go out, so they can't go on this trip. Yu and Dazi took the lead in picking up the teacup and took a sip and continued. In order not to waste the air ticket money, I found 2 more people to join the trip. Is it Shizuka and Lizinayu? The classmates gave their own answers based on his interpersonal relationships while eating snacks. Yu and Dazi shook his head. No, those 2 people have their own things to do and don't have time to travel for the time being. Shizuka absorbed the dark power from the ocean at home. Since the last time he went back, he has never left the house in the past 7 days. Lizinayu is practicing their family's secret technique, and it is estimated that he will not be able to leave for a while, so these 2 people are not within his consideration. You should remember those 2 people, right? They are the 2 students who came to our class to collect protection fees before. Everyone remembered instantly. It's them. Well, this time we can just repay them a favor. Doraemon suddenly slapped his head. Oh, I almost forgot such an important thing. He took out a fruit basket from his pocket while speaking. This is our gift to you. Because we don't have much money, the gifts are not particularly expensive, but this is our heartfelt gift. Please accept it. Doraemon said while putting the basket full of grapes, bananas, apples, cantaloupe and a big watermelon on the table. And as he quickly took the fruit, since it's from you, I won't be rude to you. Thank you. No, we should thank you for saving us. Everyone present smiled, and the atmosphere became cheerful. After chatting with them for a while, and as he sent the guests away, and then he walked to Kingai with a fruit basket. And as he walked into their room and put the basket on the table, these things are left for you. Yes, it's fruit. I haven't eaten it for a long time. Kingai picked up an apple and started to eat it, eating it with relish. But and as he didn't like apples, he always felt that the crunchy taste made him uncomfortable and gave him goosebumps. Meow, there's cantaloupe. How do they know that I like cantaloupe the most? Zyrozy picked up the cantaloupe and started to peel it, then cut it a little bit and put it in his mouth. Seeing that the two of them were eating so happily, Yu and Dazi also smiled. Try to eat as much as possible now. If something unexpected happens in the future, you may become like Dekisugi, and you won't have a chance to eat it. After Zyrozy finished eating, Yu and Dazi said to him, use magic to seal the food later, and give me at least 7 days worth. Don't worry, meow, I know it very well. Zyrozy saluted him with her tail, and then set her eyes on the banana. He was about to say something else, but the phone at their home suddenly rang. Yu and Dazi had to give up explaining things and answer the phone by himself. Chun Cheng's voice came from the other side. Yuyun, we have told our parents, and our parents agree that we can go out to play. Then Daoshi said, but our parents said that you can't spend money, so we will bear our own expenses. Why bother? Forget it, it's up to you. Yu and Dazi waved his hand to show that he was too lazy to care so much. Anyway, it was a treat, and it would be a good thing to spend less money. He was too lazy to plead for the other party's wallet. Then it's settled. Meet at my house at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. You should still remember my address, right? If you forget, I'll tell you again. Don't worry, we all remember it. Chun Cheng and Daoshi said together, I'll leave it to you to take care of me for the next 7 days. After that, they hung up the phone. Yu and Dazi shook his head and smiled. These two children are always so energetic. If possible, I also hope to be an ordinary child. God knows what troubles will be waiting for me in the future. After saying that, he went upstairs to pack his things. He had to prepare well for the 7-day trip. Others also started to prepare. The long-awaited trip to Hawaii was about to begin. Chapter 693 Chat. The next morning, Yu and Dazi packed his things and said, I'm ready to leave. Can you take care of them? Don't worry, meow. Zyrozy licked the back of his paw with his tongue. Now he was almost completely turned into a cat. As soon as he walked out of the door, Dabe came over and wagged his tail in front of him, barking at him twice, and pointed at his lunchbox. Dazi reached out and touched his head and said, don't worry, I have bought enough dog food, and Zyrozy will be responsible for delivering your food on time. After that, Yu and Dazi sighed heavily. Sure enough, it is indeed much more convenient to have a nanny at home. In this case, I can still go far away. As for whether Zyrozy is reliable, he is still confident. After all, he has lived for so long, and there is no problem taking care of them. Not long after, Dakshing, Fat Tiger and others came to Demushan's room. Yu and classmate, we are ready to leave. Well, wait a moment, everyone is not here yet. Yu and Dazi looked at his watch. It was 5 minutes before 8 o'clock. Thanks to Nobita's strong obsession with going out, otherwise he might not have been able to get up on time today. Sorry, I kept you waiting for a long time. Chun Cheng and Daoshi ran over from another intersection and stood in front of them. Because our two families live a little far, we were delayed for a while. Everyone else smiled and didn't care about these trivial matters. Anyway, it was not time to leave yet, so there was no rush. Seeing that Yu and Dazi had no intention of leaving, Ziofu came up and asked, Student Yun, is there anyone else who hasn't come yet? No, everyone is here. I'm waiting for the car to pick us up. Yu and Dazi looked at his watch and silently calculated the waiting time. 10 seconds before 8 o'clock, several black cars appeared from the intersection and stopped in front of them on time. A tall man in a black suit got off the first car and bowed to Yu and Dazi. Sir, the car you requested has arrived. Yu and Dazi nodded and waved to the people behind him to get in the car quickly. If they missed the plane, it would be a big problem. Others got in the car. Fat Tiger and Sunia took one car. Nobita, Doraemon and Shizuka took another. Chun Cheng and Daoshi looked at each other and saw incredulity and a hint of fear in each other's eyes. The two walked and whispered, why does Yun know these people? It feels like they are all gangsters. Chun Cheng was even more worried. I say, he is not going to trick us to a place where no one else can find us and then sell us all to those traffickers, right? I heard that gangsters often have organ trading business. As the two talked, they suddenly felt that the surroundings became a little colder. Chun Cheng looked at Yu and Dazi in the car and said, we suddenly remembered some urgent things. Can we not go? Yin and Daisuke, who was sitting in the back seat, glanced at them. Such a low-level lie. Do you think I'm a fool? Although he lost his magic power, his mental strength has not diminished at all. Ordinary people have no way to conceal the fluctuations of their souls when lying. Haha, just kidding. Dayoshi and the others quickly brushed the matter off, and then they took the lead to sit next to Yu and Daisuke, and Chuncheng slowly walked in. Anyway, this kid should be trustworthy, although they don't like the underworld. The driver confirmed through the intercom that everyone was on the bus and took the lead to start the car towards the airport in Tokyo. Yu and Daisuke rolled down the window and asked while enjoying the breeze, "You are all out playing. Why are you still wearing this uniform? Ha, is that what you mean? It's because we don't like other clothes." Chuncheng touched his nose and explained to him. For some reason, they just like to wear this uniform, and they are not very comfortable wearing other clothes. Is that so? Yu and Daisuke nodded, and then continued to ask, "But it's summer now, and you two are still wearing long sleeves. Aren't you hot? Because wearing long sleeves will prevent your arms from getting tanned." Dayoshi tugged at his clothes. "Our dad wears long sleeves in summer." After listening to their explanation, Yu and Daisuke silently gave them a haha in his heart. Their brain circuits were really fresh. Looking at the streets around him that were receding rapidly, Yu and Daisuke couldn't help but relax. It had been a long time since he had felt so happy. Ever since he learned about the God Clan from the soul-devouring monument, there has always been a stone pressing on his heart, making him feel stressed day and night and unable to breathe. But this time, they fought back the sun god head on, so at least they don't have to worry about this for a long time to come, right? Chuncheng and Dayoshi were sorting things out nearby. "Chuncheng, I asked you to bring a camera last time. You should have brought it, right?" "Don't worry, how could I forget?" Chuncheng took out an old Sony camera from his bag, which should have been discarded by their parents after they had used it. Dayoshi took the camera and began to check the film. "I have to take more photos this time. After all, this is the last trip in my life." "Huh? How can your life be short? You are only 10 years old now." Yu and Daisuke suddenly turned his head and looked at him. "Why did you say it was the last time so early?" "No, this is just my idea." Dayoshi smiled, "Because after entering junior high school, we may not have the opportunity to travel together." Chuncheng also expressed his agreement with this point of view. "Yes, there are so many things in junior high school. I don't know if I can go out. As for high school and college, there will be even more troubles. I have to read books, and Dayoshi also has to do advanced training to become a policeman." The Inagorake member in front chuckled. "Don't think about it. The current cops have no future at all. It's better to hang out with us. Yeah, you see, until now, which police dare to cause trouble for us?" The driver also hit their dreams. "Don't say that. It's a good thing to have a dream in your heart." Yu and Daisuke quickly corrected him. "Do you dare to say that you don't want to climb higher and become a Tokyo branch director for fun?" The two people in front were silent for a while and then laughed bitterly. "Come on, I dare not take that risk." After listening to their conversation, Chuncheng and Dayoshi quietly put away their things and sat in their seats obediently without saying a word. They were worried that if they said something that the other party didn't like, then this might really be the last trip in their lives. After all, high school students have to have a school trip, right? They still want to live a little longer. Chapter 694, Meteor Falls. After a while, the car stopped on a busy street, and the member sitting in the passenger seat got out and opened the door for everyone. After Chuncheng and Dayoshi got out, Yu and Daisuke got out with his backpack and waited for everyone to gather. The member who seemed to be the leader walked in front of everyone. "Children, line up and follow me. It will be troublesome if you get lost." "Got it." Everyone lined up in order of height from tallest to shortest and followed behind the leader. "Huh, it seems that these children are pretty good." The leader quietly breathed a sigh of relief. "I thought the yin-yang master would be dissatisfied. It seems that I was too worried." Then he took a peek at the silent Yu and Daisuke in front, turned his head, and couldn't help but raise the corner of his mouth. No matter how powerful he is as an yin-yang master, his heart is still a child, and he still needs to take care of him. This trip is for him to take these children to Hawaii for fun. If there is no adult leading the team, the parents will not be at ease. Since he was chosen as the leader, he naturally had to go with the children, enjoying the holiday-like treatment while doing the task. Of course, what he didn't know was that even without adults or superpowers, the group of children behind him also had the ability to save the world and create civilization. After entering the terminal, the leader discussed with the airport staff and took everyone to the VIP terminal. You guys take a rest here. I'll go outside to process your passports and boarding passes, and we'll be back in a while. Okay. By the way, what should I call this uncle? Yu and as he suddenly thought of this very serious question. Although he has some face blindness, it would be unreasonable if he didn't even know his name after being taken out for such a long time. You are actually interested in my name? He was surprised for a moment, touched his nose and said, my name is Kazuo Okamoto. Just call me Okamoto. Yu and as he nodded, then waved his hand to signal him to go to work quickly. Nothing would happen here with him. Although he lost his magic power, his soul did not decline, and he could deal with ordinary people and ordinary supernatural events. The other children sat casually on the sofa, and Nobita and Fat Tiger had already started to eat the food on the table, feeling like they were home. Yu and as he threw his school bag and sat on the sofa. It's so comfortable. I really don't want to do anything now. Since the last injury, he felt that he had become lazy. Without being able to practice swordsmanship, magic and mental power, he gradually became a useless fish. As for the dark blade that had been with him for so long, the old man recovered its fragments and said that he wanted to recast it again. The old man also told him that the previous recasting was to make him adapt to the power of this sword. There was originally room for upgrading, so recasting was inevitable. In fact, without him saying it, Yu and as he also felt a little strange, because the power of that sword was really unworthy of the title of level 5. In addition to the sharpness and hardness of the blade itself, other abilities are indeed incomparable to the Dark Star Cloak and the Star Sword. Dayoshi, do you want to be a policeman? Shizuka looked at Dayoshi with joy. Then you must be very powerful. Dayoshi blushed and shook his head. His fighting ability was really not flattering. He almost killed him and Chunsheng several times before. Ziofu raised his bangs in disdain. TSK, what's so good about being a policeman? I want to be a great entrepreneur in the future. When the time comes, I only need to invest in 1 or 2 senators, and I will have a significant influence. The police. Stop talking. Yu and Daisy next to him quietly kicked him and made him swallow all the things that happened later. Seeing the puzzled eyes of the people around him, he shook his head helplessly. He really didn't know where Ziofu knew all this. Although this kind of thing is a very common phenomenon among the top leaders, how can it be said openly? If you say this, you have to apologize to the people of the whole country. Under everyone's gaze, Ziofu laughed awkwardly twice. Nothing, I was just kidding. You continue. This lame reason obviously couldn't convince everyone, and it was still putting pressure on him. They really wanted to know what happened next. At this moment, the door suddenly opened. Children, move. We are ready to board the plane. Kazuo Okamoto walked up to them. Everyone, take your plane ticket. If you lose it, you will have to quit this trip. Then he added in his heart, in fact, you can discuss with the waiter to reissue it, but in order for you to protect your tickets, reasonable hypocrisy is necessary. Everyone reached out to take the ticket, and Ziofu at the back breathed a sigh of relief. This level was finally passed. I was so careless. He reflected on his mistake in his heart. In order to show off, I actually said that kind of thing casually. I have to be careful in the future. Kazuo Okamoto led a group of children to the airport through the direct channel. Our flight is 10:30, and there is still more than half an hour. According to the time difference, when we arrive in Hawaii, it will be 6:30 in the morning there. You can play after you put your things away, but the 13 hours in between cannot be reduced, so you must rest well on the plane to adapt to the time difference. Don't worry, we know. Everyone present raised their hands to show that they understood the rules. At this time, in front of them, the plane was already in place, and the boarding stairs next to them were also on the way, and they could board the plane soon. I didn't expect there were people in front of us. Yu and as he looked at the team in front of him with some dissatisfaction. I thought we were the first batch. Although there is no substantial benefit in being the first batch, there is always a little sense of accomplishment in being the first to board the plane. Please board the plane in an orderly manner. The flight attendant held a loudspeaker and shouted to maintain order. Remind passengers with children, please take care of your children. The people in front quickly walked into the cabin along the stairs. They were in the first class cabin, which was the most comfortable position in the entire plane. Just as Yu and as he was boarding the plane, he suddenly felt something in his heart and looked up at the cloudless sky. At this time, a purple meteor happened to fall. Although it was daytime, he still caught this weak light. Look at this position, it seems to be near our town. When he was confused, the voice of the flight attendant came from the side. Children, please get on quickly. There are still many people behind. Oh, sorry. Yu and as he quickly put away his thoughts and walked into the plane to Hawaii. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 695 Arrival in Hawaii. After boarding the plane, Yu and as he found his seat in the first class cabin and then sat down to read a book. As for the purple meteor just now, he didn't take it seriously. There are countless meteors falling on a planet every year, so there is no need to pay attention to these things. And even if there is really a problem, Ziozi, Shizuka and others are at the landing point, and they will definitely be able to handle it. If even they can't handle it, according to Yu and as his current state, he can only go to deliver food. Don't you do your homework? Chuncheng and Aoshi looked at Yu and as he who was holding a comic in his hand. If you don't do your homework and keep delaying it until the last day, it will be very tiring. Yu and as he yawned. You mean homework? I almost finished that kind of thing on the first day of the holiday. This sentence hit them hard, and Yu and as he took advantage of the victory. It's just that little thing. Can't you finish it in one day? This sentence hit a wide range. In addition to Chuncheng and Aoshi, other people in the first class cabin were also hit. Looking at the speechless crowd, Yu and as he couldn't help but curl up his lips and continued to read comics. The others were extremely hurt and picked up their homework to continue writing, except for Doraemon who didn't have to do homework and came over to read comics with him. After writing for about 2 or 3 hours, everyone put down their pens at Nobita's call and started playing cards in the cabin. Yu and as he took out a pair of earplugs and put them on to continue reading comics, while Chuncheng and Aoshi continued to do their homework. At 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Japan time, everyone lay down in the cabin and began to sleep. Now they can sleep for about 8 hours. While everyone was asleep, Yu and as he quietly picked up Chuncheng and Aoshi's notebooks to see how their homework was. Chuncheng's handwriting is very beautiful, just like the printed one. He picked up another homework book and said, Daisei's handwriting is not as good, but it's better than mine. As he said this, Yu and as he put the book back to its original place. I wonder what will happen to these two people in the future? It's a pity that I don't have the ability to tell fortunes. Otherwise I really want to see their future. Will they be together? I'm so looking forward to it. He closed his eyes while saying this. He also needed to rest. The time difference of more than 10 hours can't be reversed. After an unknown amount of time, the children woke up to Kazuo Okamoto's call, and now they have arrived at the Hawaii airport. Okay, kids, take your things. Then Kazuo Okamoto pointed at Nobita and said, don't think you don't have to do your homework, just because you deliberately put your homework book on the plane. TSK, why do you care so much? It won't hurt you if I don't do my homework, he muttered while putting the homework book back into his school bag. Doraemon chuckled. Do you think you don't have to do your homework if you leave it here? You are so naive. Let me tell you, in order to prevent your various tricks, my props this time are very complete. Even if you burn to ashes, I can restore you. After hearing this, Nobita said with a sad face, is it really that serious? Are you my babysitter, or are you here to collect debts? You are not ashamed to say that. If you were not so lazy, would I come to find you? Shiksu is much less troublesome than you. After saying that, Doraemon kicked Nobita off and jumped to the airport to wait for others. Chun-Cheng and Aoshi quickly put their homework books back into their school bags and ran to the door of the cabin in a hurry to get off the plane. Gian and as he used his mental power to confirm that everyone had left before following Chun-Cheng out of the plane. It was only 6 o'clock in the morning in Hawaii at this time. The sun had just stepped out of the sea level and there was a faint red glow spreading on the horizon. Gian and as he took a deep breath after getting off the plane. The air here is rich in water, and it smells cool and rushes straight into his mind. Kazuo Okamoto shouted loudly in an empty area, "Are the children here? Follow me and don't get lost." "Uncle Okamoto, which hotel are we going to?" Nobita shouted this sentence with all his strength. There were too many noises around him, and he couldn't hear it without shouting. "It's the Waikiki Hotel." As soon as the uncle's voice was shouted out, it was drowned out by the noise of the nearby planes taking off. "What is that?" In Nobita's knowledge, he had never heard of this hotel. The knowledgeable Sunia explained, "It's the Waikiki Hotel, a pretty good hotel near Hawaii." Although he said this, others still didn't understand. Sunia sighed, "Alas, there is indeed an insurmountable chasm between us. Just go your way. Why are you talking so much nonsense?" Fat Tiger slapped him on the head. At this time, Sunia really deserved a beating. The others remained silent because they didn't know which so-called Waikiki hotel it was, and it was not convenient for them to attack Sunia. After leaving the airport, everyone's stomachs began to growl. They hadn't eaten for almost 10 hours. Kazuo Okamoto was also a little hungry, so he suggested, "Let's go eat first. After all, it takes almost 2 hours to get to the hotel from here." "No problem, I'm almost starving." Nobita covered his stomach and lowered his head. He had been looking forward to the food here for a long time. TSK, useless. Fat Tiger wanted to hit Nobita, but his stomach just started to growl, so he blushed. "Let's go eat quickly." The people around him stretched out their hands to cover their mouths to prevent Fat Tiger from seeing them laughing, but their eyes still betrayed them. Fat Tiger turned his head away in dissatisfaction. "Forget it, I'm in a good mood today, so I won't bother with you about this." Seeing his arrogant personality, Kazuo Okamoto smiled in front and started looking for restaurants in Hawaii with the group of children. They casually walked into a restaurant on the street that looked good. Because it was only a little after 6 o'clock, there were relatively few people. After everyone took their seats, a white waiter came over and said to them in English, "Hello, how can I help you?" "What did he say?" Fat Tiger turned his head and looked at Kazuo Okamoto, who didn't understand English at all. Sunia laughed and said, "That's because you have too little experience. I don't have such troubles if I go abroad frequently. Please give me a sandwich and milk, and he wants a hot dog and coke. Thank you." Chun-Cheng spoke fluent English, which hit Sunia's sense of superiority to pieces. "We just need a pizza. Let's have this seafood pizza. I want to try the seafood here." Doraemon also hit Sunia mercilessly. In any case, English is a very common language in the world, and as a robot, it is necessary to have knowledge in this area. Chapter 696. This child is a little weird. After others ordered, Yu and Daisy picked up the menu and said in English, "I just want a portion of pasta." "Okay." The waitress faithfully recorded the food that everyone wanted, although some of them were not for breakfast. But this is a tourist destination, so the guests basically come from all over the world, and they may not eat breakfast at this time. After being hit many times, Ziofu finally calmed down, and after a while he said, "I want a Wellington steak, medium rare." "My friend, it takes about 50 minutes to make a Wellington steak. Are you sure you want to eat this steak now?" "I'll take this. Anyway, the pizza will take a long time." Ziofu nodded affirmatively and then sat in his seat and stopped talking. Yu and Daisy silently covered his heart. "Are you sick? Why do you want to eat such a good breakfast?" After Fat Tiger looked at the menu, he pointed to a picture and looked at the waiter. "I want this." The picture at the end of his finger looked like fried rice, and there were magical foods such as shrimp and starfish on it, but I didn't know how it tasted. The waiter pointed at the picture and took a closer look. Although Fat Tiger spoke Japanese, it did not prevent the waiter from writing down the name and number of the dish. Because of Sunya, everyone waited in the restaurant for an hour and a half before he finished eating the Wellington steak and left. Sunya was calm in the eyes of everyone who wanted to kill him. Who let you lose face for me? I have plenty of ways to deal with you. Then, under the arrangement of Kazuo Okamoto, everyone took a taxi to the Waikiki Hotel in an orderly manner. As soon as they entered, Fat Tiger was like crazy. Wow, we are finally at the hotel. Where is my room? I want to go back and change clothes. Everyone in the hall was stunned for a moment, and after realizing that the person who made such a commotion was a child, they turned around and continued to do their own things. Kazuo Okamoto covered his forehead. Why did you bring such a disaster here, on Maji? It's so embarrassing. What do you think I want? Yu and as he rolled his eyes at him. Who knew that this guy would be so troublesome? At this time, the culprit who embarrassed them was still making a lot of noise in the hall, and others were too lazy to bother with him because of his status as a child. Kazuo Okamoto sighed and said, I will go to check you in first. You should go and take good care of the child first. Don't worry, I agree with you. After Kazuo Okamoto left, Yu and as he walked behind Fat Tiger and slashed his neck with a knife. Fat Tiger's body stiffened instantly and then fell limply to the ground. It seemed that he was knocked unconscious. Finally it's quiet. He covered his nose and reached out to hold Fat Tiger's feet. I really hope he wears a new pair of shoes when he goes out. Yu and as he dragged Fat Tiger and came to Kazuo Okamoto without changing his expression. How is it? Have the procedures been completed? Yes, but there are only 8 single suites originally booked. I have to take advantage of this opportunity to apply for a new room for myself. Yu and as he stretched out his other hand to stop him. Don't be so troublesome. Nobita and Doraemon share a room. They have always lived together. After hearing his words, Kazuo Okamoto returned the room information card to the waiter, took the 8 room cards himself, and left with the children. Yu and as he sighed. Originally, he and Iki or Aoki should have lived together, but now Nobita had to be wronged. According to his prediction, the normal theater version was indeed not dangerous. Who knew that the gods would suddenly intervene? However, judging from their state, it should be that the sun god happened to encounter this moment, not a premeditated attack. Kazuo Okamoto walked to the elevator door with the children. This time they were going to the 7th floor. Who would be willing to take the stairs if there was an elevator? The elevator arrived not long after. Kazuo Okamoto glanced at the people behind him and silently filled the elevator with 8 children. An old lady at the back shook her head helplessly. Your family is really prosperous. Are you planning to form a football team? Haha. Kazuo Okamoto, who is proficient in many foreign languages, understood what she said, but was too lazy to argue with her. The elevator went up quickly and stopped at other floors several times during the period, but seeing so many people, they all chose to wait for the next one. When the elevator arrived at the destination, Kazuo Okamoto, who was almost squeezed flat, walked out and breathed heavily. This elevator is really too small. The children behind him were squeezed together. The reason was that when Doraemon went out, Fat Tiger also squeezed over. To be honest, Fat Tiger would not get stuck no matter who he competed with, but he had to compete with Doraemon, the largest size. As a result, the narrow elevator door could not bear the combined width of the 2 guys, and the 2 fat guys were stuck at the door. Moreover, Fat Tiger complained first. Doraemon, it's all your fault. Why did you squeeze me when I was about to go out? Doraemon was also unhappy. What nonsense are you talking about? It was obviously you who suddenly squeezed in when I was about to go out. How dare you say that I squeezed you? The 2 guys argued endlessly, and the elevator door made an impatient reminder sound. There were so many people below who needed it. That's enough. Yu and as he grabbed Fat Tiger's ears and Doraemon's beard. I'm starting to think about whether I should send you back in advance. After that, he used both hands to pull the 2 people out of the elevator, and Shizuka and Sunya behind them were able to walk out of the elevator. Kazuo Okamoto was finally relieved. If these children continued to make trouble, the staff would have to come out and release them. Okay, let's get down to business. Kazuo Okamoto took out 8 room cards. Now everyone should go and pick the room you like. This operation is mainly focused on these children, so he will only take the remaining cards of these children. As soon as he finished speaking, Yu and Dazzy took card number 0708. I want room number 8. You can pick the rest. It would have been better if he didn't take it. Once he took it, everyone rushed forward to grab it frantically, leaving only Chuncheng and Aoshi watching on the side, not daring to go up and join them. When the others finished choosing, Kazuo Okamoto had only 2 room cards left in his hand, which should be given to Chuncheng and Aoshi. Strange, didn't you say that Nobita and Doraemon were in a group? He looked at Chuncheng and Aoshi. Why do I remember that you didn't call these 2 names? Are you calling us? Doraemon held a card and looked at him innocently. Kazuo Okamoto then realized that this child called Doraemon seemed to look a little strange. Chapter 697 Cost Issue. Seeing that he was looking at him without letting up, Doraemon touched his face and asked, "Why, is there something on my face?" No, I just think your head seems a little big, and why is your body blue?" Chuncheng and Aoshi next to him also suddenly noticed this problem. Yes, why does Doraemon look so strange? Hearing their doubts, the blue fat man was confused. Do you have any opinions about my little Doraemon being born like this? As a robot, is it wrong for me to mix red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple and other colors? Wait, I seem to be born yellow. No, it doesn't matter. Doraemon suddenly remembered one of his props and explained to them with a smile. You are talking about this because I'm a robot. As for why you only discovered my abnormality now, it's because of my magical prop, the biological hypnotist. Doraemon took out a small prop while speaking. This can make you subconsciously ignore my disharmony. Considering that he was going to a place with a large flow of people, Doraemon took out this prop specifically to avoid causing a commotion. Unless someone wants to have close contact with him like Kazuo Okamoto, they generally don't think he is any different from other children. And if he doesn't say that he is a robot, even if they notice it, they will just think that he looks strange. Kazuo Okamoto didn't know why he quickly accepted this setting. So he is a robot. No wonder he is so cute. Thank you for the compliment. Doraemon accepted Kazuo Okamoto's compliments without hesitation and then handed him the room card. But Irunari and Tosei refused. No, we can just stay in one room so the expenses can be reduced. Since they said they would take care of their own part, they would not break their promise, but they could find a way to reduce the cost for each person. It's really strange. What are they going to pay for? Didn't Yu and Dazzy cover all the expenses during this period? Yu and Dazzy shook his head. I'm only responsible for the expenses of group activities, such as meals, scenic spots, etc. And I'm not responsible for other expenses. And these 2 people are different from you. They insist on paying for themselves, so their expenses will be settled separately. After hearing what he said, Dakshin was very confused. Obviously someone is paying for it. Why do they still insist on this thing? It's really strange. No, it's a pleasant thing to be friends with a principled person. Ian and as he smiled and walked into room 6 with a small school bag on his back. After everyone was stunned for a while, they realized that this bastard was just pointing fingers at Sankei and saying that they had no principles. Fat Tiger was so angry that he wanted to go over and argue with him. It's really hateful. It's obviously him who wants to pay for it. Why do you say we have no principles? That's right, Fat Tiger, we support you to go find him. The people around him all encouraged Fat Tiger to let him go in and argue with the other party, but no one went up. Fat Tiger glanced at them. These guys just wanted him to be the first to speak out. Do they really think he is stupid? I think you misunderstood. Seeing that the situation was almost over, Kazuo Okamoto came out to be a peacemaker. He should just be praising the 2 children. And what you should care about more is that he will not be responsible for your extra expenses. You should not have US dollars on you, right? A word awakened the dreamer. At this time, everyone had to face one thing. It seemed that they really had no money to spend. Chuncheng and Aoshi took out their wallets. Our parents exchanged 200 US dollars for us each, so we can buy some things. Ziofu confidently lifted his bangs again. As handsome as I am, I always bring 1000 US dollars with me. After all, Ziofu is from a wealthy family. His monthly pocket money is tens of thousands of yen. Naturally, he will not treat him badly when he goes out to travel. and let him have fun. As soon as the voice fell, the eyes of the people nearby were like knives stabbing into him. Everyone's expenses during this period have been reimbursed. Chun Cheng is not familiar with Daoshi, but is he not familiar with you? And he is so rich. What a dog rich man. Sunya, we are good friends, right? Fat Tiger grabbed his neck and said, we need to have some fun during this time. Even Nobita and Doraemon came over and said, that's right, we need to have a good exchange of feelings during this time. Seeing these people grinning, Sunya felt cold in his heart. It was bad. He was too obsessed with showing off and accidentally forgot the nature of these friends who were beasts in human form. Okay, kids, now is not the time to talk about this. Okamoto Kazuo pushed them away and said, go back and put your things away, and then go to the beach together. Seeing the people being pushed away, Sunya breathed a sigh of relief, and then looked at his wallet with a heartache. His wallet was not safe. After entering the room, and as he saw a phone inside, so he picked it up, and dialed Xiaoshen's home number. Soon, Xiaozi's voice came from the other side. Meow, the owner here is not here for the time being. If you have anything to say, please leave a message. Hearing Xiaozi's voice as before, and as he breathed a sigh of relief, it's me. There shouldn't be any big problems at home, right? Master Meow. No wonder you called in the middle of the night. Everything is fine here. King Gaiu has fallen asleep, and Chumushin is still not awake. But please pay attention to the time when you call next time. It is very likely to disturb King Gaiu's rest now, which is not good for his physical recovery. Sorry, I forgot to calculate the time difference. Hearing him so serious, and as he was a little ashamed. He was so irresponsible. I will probably call you at noon in the future. Please pay attention to my phone. and as he calculated the time. Noon in Japan is about 8 o'clock in the evening, just when they finish playing and go home. After explaining the matter, he hung up the phone, then took out a piece of paper from his school bag, and used the remaining magic power to unlock the seal of this thing. He can now perform dimensionality reduction strike, but the magic power required exceeds his capacity, so he needs to chant a spell, and it will take a long time. He took out a summer beach style swimsuit, put it on, and walked out the door, only to find that others were already waiting for him outside. Finally, you're out. Fat Tiger was getting impatient. I thought you weren't going to go out. At this time, he was wearing a pair of brown swimming trunks and holding a water gun in his hand. He probably wanted to use this thing to bully other children again. Sorry, I have to call them to confirm the situation. and as he picked up a beach chair, let's go enjoy the summer sunshine together. Chapter 698 Nobita learns to swim. At this time, there were already many children on the beach building sandcastles, and the adults sat next to them and set up parasols and beach chairs. and as he found a suitable place to put down his things. Here, Okamoto Kazuo, help me put up the umbrella. Okay, on Miyagi-sama. Okamoto Kazuo agreed in a low voice, and then began to work on this beach. Although and as he has the ability to hold the umbrella himself, now it is generally adults who do these things here, so he can only ask adults to help. Fat Tiger and Sunya rushed into the sea without saying a word, and kept splashing sea water on other children and the sea water, to get a strange sense of pleasure. Nobita, who can't swim, squatted on the beach, and played with the sand, intending to build a fortress here. There was no way, he himself couldn't swim, and if he rashly went into the water, he was worried that he would be choked, and he didn't bring a lifebuoy. As for renting one, he didn't have much extra money, and even if he did, it was Japanese yen that was not circulated in Hawaii, and couldn't be used. While playing, Nobita looked at them from time to time. I really envy those who can swim. When can I learn it? Okamoto Kazuo helped and as he put up the parasol, and clapped his hands with satisfaction. Okay, on Miyagi, please enjoy it. Well, thank you for your hard work. And as he lay down on the seat without any hesitation. It feels comfortable without the sun. By the way, Okamoto Kazuo, why don't you change into a swimsuit? Why are you still wandering around here in a black suit? Don't you feel hot? Black is the most heat absorbing of all colors of clothes, and also the best of protection. It's crazy hot to wear black in summer. No, I don't plan to go in the water. Kazuo Okamoto shook his head. I'm under the order of the president and must stay by your side to provide assistance. At this time, his inner drama was, in order to keep the secret, the president only told me the news to Hawaii this morning when he was about to leave. How could I have time to prepare a swimsuit? I don't have anything to do here. Because I can't bask in the sun now, I won't go out of the range of this umbrella under normal circumstances. Gian and Daisy waved his hand outward a few times. Do whatever you want to do. When we get here, it's almost 12 o'clock, and call everyone to eat. This. Okay. Kazuo Okamoto wanted to refuse, but it was obvious that the person with the highest official rank here was this child, and he himself didn't want to stay here all the time. It was not easy to come to Hawaii. How boring would it be to stay by his side all the time? It's a good time to try Hawaiian snacks. Kazuo Okamoto picked up a map casually. This shopping street nearby seems to have everything. In addition to delicious food, there are also many souvenir shops, stunt performances, exotic dances, and fortune telling. Seeing so many entertainment facilities, Kazuo Okamoto immediately put away the map. Let's go over there and have some fun before he changes his mind. Not far away, Yu and as he raised his mouth slightly, pushed his sunglasses on his head, and turned his head to look at Kazuo Okamoto who was walking away. There are actually fortune-telling shops here. He was also a little interested. If you have time, you can go and have a look. Maybe you will meet a real supernatural person. Of course, don't hold too high hopes. After all, most fortune-telling these days is just a scam. After talking to himself for a while, Yu and as he put on his sunglasses again, closed his eyes, and prepared to take a rest here. During this period of time, the soul-devouring monument has been absorbing his mental power. Even if he does nothing, he will still feel mentally tired and needs a long rest. Doraemon, who was having fun playing in the sea, suddenly found Nobita playing with sand above him and immediately remembered that Nobita couldn't swim. He had no choice but to walk to Nobita's side. Nobita, why don't you go down and play together? I have a life buoy here. I don't want to. Nobita opened Doraemon's hand and continued to play with the sand. More than 10 minutes have passed since then, and Doraemon just remembered that he couldn't swim. Is this still his good brother? What's so fun about water? Nobita continued to build his sand castle in a huff. Why not continue to build sand? Look, this castle is almost done. Doraemon took a look at the bun-like castle below and quickly pinched his mouth with his hands to avoid accidentally laughing out loud. Nobita, don't be angry. Doraemon stretched out his hand to him again. As long as you learn to swim, it won't be a problem. But how can I learn it? Nobita let go of the sand castle, sat on the ground, hugged his knees with his hands, and sank his head deeply. Since kindergarten, I have not been able to do anything well, and I have learned swimming for 5 years, but I still haven't made any progress. At this point, Nobita looked up at him, his voice almost shouting, 5 years? Do you know how I have been spending these 5 years? Do you know? No, you have changed. You should believe in yourself. Shizuka's voice suddenly came from the side, which made Nobita calm down a little. Don't forget, we have fought against the waves on the sea, and fought against the strange fish tribe in the seabed. Didn't you do all these with your own strength? Shizuka. Nobita looked at Shizuka's face, tears flashing in his eyes. It turned out that Shizuka had not given up on him. Another strong hand was on Nobita's shoulder. You're right, you should try to believe in yourself. Nobita turned his head and saw Fat Tiger and Sunia standing in front of him with water guns and stretched out their hands to Nobita. Let's go. Let's work hard together. Nobita was stunned on the beach. His face gradually turned red. Why are you suddenly so enthusiastic? I'm not used to it. Fat Tiger pulled him up. Where does all that nonsense come from? Come and learn to swim with us. After being pulled up, Nobita held his painful right hand, looked back at the 4 companions, and nodded vigorously. Although they often bullied him, they always helped him when he was in trouble and stood behind him. I will definitely study hard. Nobita raised his hands high above his head to show his determination. I must learn to swim during this summer vacation. Chun-Cheng and Aoshi saw this scene and couldn't help but smile. It seems that they have a really good relationship. Yes, when I go back, I will draw this scene in my notebook. Chun-Cheng took out his camera and recorded this moment on the film. 2 hours later, Kazuo Okamoto returned to the beach with a bunch of snacks and flyers. "Kids, we are going to have lunch." And as he stretched lazily, "What a wonderful morning. Where are they? Haven't they had enough fun yet?" As he spoke, he saw the status of the 5 people. Shizuka, Fat Tiger, Tsunia, and Doraemon were kneeling on the beach. Their bodies had lost color, while Chun-Cheng and Aoshi were petrified. As for Nobita, he seemed to have only one hand left, still flapping on the sea, and seemed to be dying. And as he touched his head, "So, what happened here just now?" Chapter 699 Afternoon Arrangements. Hahaha, you guys tried to teach Nobita how to swim, but after teaching for so long you even forgot how to swim yourself? And as he laughed and slapped his thighs, "You are so brave that you dare to teach Nobita to swim. I would like to call you the best in this regard." Thinking of how much effort he put in to help Nobita barely escape from the last place, this is the result of accumulated work over time. You kids dare to teach Nobita to swim without any psychological preparation? I'm afraid you are living in a dream. Okay, don't be too anxious. After laughing enough, he began to comfort everyone. This matter does require patience. There is still time. The 4 people shook their heads again and again. No, there is no time. If we continue to teach, we will become landlubbers sooner or later. Nobita pouted dissatisfiedly. What's wrong with being a landlubber? I have been a landlubber for 10 years and I haven't been drowned by water. At this time, what he was thinking in his heart was that, as long as he could turn these people into landlubbers, then no one would laugh at him for not being able to swim. While everyone was chatting, the waiter brought a hamburger and placed it in front of Yu and Azuki. The gravy kept spilling on the plate, and the aroma was overflowing. Then the waiter took out a knife and gently cut the melted cheese next to it, and a layer of crust fell on the hamburger. Then he used the knife to cut from top to bottom, and the golden cheese dripped on the hamburger like a waterfall, which made people very hungry. Fat Tiger and others swallowed hard. Wow, this cheeseburger looks so delicious. Seeing this, Yu and Dazzy pushed the plates to the middle and asked him in a teasing tone, "Fat Tiger, do you really want to try this burger?" Fat Tiger didn't say anything, but his saliva had already dripped on the table, and his eyes had never left the golden burger from the beginning. "I know, you really want to eat it, right?" he said as he picked up the burger. "Then sit in your seat and think about it slowly." At this time, he put the burger in front of him with lightning speed and quickly cut off a fan-shaped piece with a knife and put it into his mouth. Well, the cheese and beef gravy mixed together have a unique fresh fragrance, and the lettuce just neutralizes the greasy taste of cheese. It's a perfect match. Alas, it's a pity that someone only knows pork chop rice. The monotonous life is meaningless. After saying that, he cut off another piece, stuck it with a fork, and waved it in front of Fat Tiger, and then slowly ate the hamburger. Damn it. Fat Tiger was so angry that his teeth were about to break. "Dazzy, you dare to seduce me like this? I'm going to be angry." Seeing that he was so imposing, Yu and Dazzy snorted coldly, "If you think you can beat me, then come and try." Okamoto Kazuo's mouth twitched. It turns out that there is a reason why this yin-yang master is so strong. If his strength can't keep up with the enemy he mocks, he will probably be beaten to death not long after he learns to speak. The reactions of others were similar. They quietly lit a candle on their chests for Fat Tiger, who swallowed his anger and then began to look forward to their food. "Damn you, waiter, come here." Fat Tiger called the waiter with the help of the translation konjac. "Please give me a hamburger." Yu and Dazzy suddenly reminded him, "It's okay if you want to compete with me, as long as you can finish the food you ordered today." The waiter also nodded in agreement. "Yes, kid, we must learn to save money and not order things that we can't finish." Fat Tiger sat in silence for a while and finally chose to give in. "Forget it, I don't want a cheeseburger." Yu and Dazzy then buried his head and continued to eat. If Fat Tiger could really finish it, he didn't mind Fat Tiger ordering another hamburger. And when he ordered a hamburger, he found that the taste of this hamburger was just so-so, not as fascinating as he described. Seeing that the atmosphere on the field was a little awkward, Okamoto Kazuo quickly said, "Kids, what are your plans for the afternoon? Can I continue to learn swimming?" Nobita raised his hand weakly, trying to get everyone's consent. But almost everyone turned their heads away at the same time. Of all the things, only this one is impossible. Don't even think about it. Okay. Nobita helplessly buried his head in the white vegetable soup, quickly reducing his presence. No one has made any plans? That's great. Kazuo Okamoto took out the list. Why don't we go to this fortune-telling shop after dinner? Divination? Everyone raised their heads. Is this thing that sounds so mysterious really credible? Kazuo Okamoto looked at Yu and Daisuke. Do you think this fortune teller who is setting up a stall here is the same as you? It's unlikely. According to the current situation, few people with superpowers will show off themselves. Yu, and as his voice was deliberately low, so that others would not hear it, Chun-Cheng and Aoshi were getting more and more confused the more they listened. What does it mean to be the same as him? Is there anything special about him? But it's better to believe it than not. Yu and Daisuke said as he ate the food. If everyone is okay, go and take a look. While waiting, other people's meals were also paid one after another, and everyone was enjoying the meal. After finishing the meal, Okamoto Kazuo took the initiative to pay the bill, and wrote the amount in a notebook, and attached the invoice. When he walked to the door of the restaurant, Okamoto Kazuo came to Yu and Daisuke. Excuse me, should we go directly now, or go back to the hotel first? Let's go back first. I have to get an umbrella. He glanced at the sun in the sky, and the wound on his body was a little painful. After being sunburned by the sun god, it seemed that there was a mark left in his body. As long as he was exposed to the sun, he would feel pain all over his body. At this time, he already had some guesses in his heart. The sun god seemed to have cursed the goddess of night before, and there were other wounds when he was stabbed by the dark blade. According to these circumstances, he should have been injured by the goddess of night, and the wound has not healed yet. It is estimated that their gods have a way to leave their energy in the other party's body, causing continuous pain and damage. When he came back downstairs with a black parasol, he opened the parasol and nodded with satisfaction. After he could no longer see the sun, Chun-Cheng became even more curious. Why does he need an umbrella? If he is afraid of getting tanned, can't he just wear long sleeves? Isn't this something you should be concerned about? Let's go. Fat Tiger grabbed the two of them and took them to the mysterious fortune-telling shop. Chapter 700 Divination. Led by Kazuo Okamoto, everyone walked to the so-called fortune-telling shop, wanting to see who it was. It was called a shop, but it was actually a small stall supported by a few wooden sticks and a rainproof cloth, with a long table and a crystal ball in front. Is this the fortune-telling shop you mentioned? It doesn't look professional at all, right? The others felt that this place was more and more unreliable. Yu and Daisuke was a little interested. I don't think so. Maybe this shop owner is really capable? The basis for his words was the crystal ball in front of him. This thing was seen in the database that Ling Feng gave him. It was made of a material called star crystal. This kind of thing was not too rare in ancient times, but it might not be too difficult to knock down such a large piece of star crystal now. And judging from the smoothness of the surface, it is more likely to be passed down from generation to generation in a family. While they were arguing, a person in a purple dress slowly walked into the store and sat down. Is there anything you want to know? Oh, the owner is here. Fat Tiger looked back and said, strange. Why is the owner a man? At this time, Yu and Daisuke could clearly see her face twitching under the veil, and then he held back his anger and said, excuse me, how did you know that I'm a man? Oh, isn't it? Nobita, Doraemon, Fat Tiger, and Sunia's eyes unconsciously drifted to her chest. Then they said together, but no matter how you look at it, it's an airport. Isn't this a man or a woman? Go to hell. The owner suddenly jumped up, picked up the crystal ball, and waved it around quickly, hitting the four of them on the head accurately. The four people stood on the ground and shook for a few rounds before falling to the side. Judging from their current state, they should not be dead yet, right? Sorry, that's a bit rude. The lady put the crystal ball away and sat down again. What do you want to know from me? I may be able to give you an answer. Invisible power spread from the crystal ball, and Shizuka and the others who were originally in a state of tension slowly calmed down. Yu and Daisuke looked at her in surprise. This person is indeed not simple. It seems that she is a real fortune teller. Shizuka walked forward and selectively ignored Nobita and the others who were knocked unconscious. I want to ask, what will my Prince Charming be like in the future? Okay, please put your hand here. The fortune teller took Shizuka's hand and placed it on the crystal ball, and the starlight light began to spread. And she was looking for the trajectory in these starlights. These lights contain future changes, and what she has to do is to interpret the meaning. After a while, she closed her eyes and began to sort out the picture she just saw, and at the same time, signaled Shizuka to take her hand away. You pray for marriage, but no new stars appear around you. If things go as expected, your husband should be around you. And the brightest one is still the yellow star. You are most likely to be with him in the future, but of course it is not certain. Hearing this, Shizuka subconsciously glanced at Nobita, who was still on the ground. She was inevitably a little surprised, because Nobita was wearing yellow clothes today. Suddenly Yu and Daisy asked, yellow stars, are there any differences between stars of different colors? Yes, yellow represents liveliness and activity, but sometimes it can be silly and careless. In marriage, it represents the character of that person. After learning the meaning of the yellow light, Shizuka looked at Nobita again. Why did she feel that the woman was talking about him? Yu and as he smiled and looked at Chuncheng and Daoshi beside him. Do you two want to go up and try it? Chuncheng glanced at Daoshi and suggested curiously, why don't you try it? It seems to be quite effective. The two walked up to the stall and were about to speak, but the owner said in advance, 10 yuan for the lady just now. Okay, here's $10. Okamoto Kazuo took the initiative to pay. Shizuka breathed a sigh of relief. She was still worrying about how she was going to take out the US dollars. Chuncheng and the other person hesitated for a moment, took out their wallets, and prepared to pay, but the shopkeeper returned the money. First, tell fortunes, then collect money. Seeing this, Yu and as he smiled, I didn't expect that this fortune teller is actually quite principled. I just want to prevent any accidents from happening during the fortune telling. If I can't tell fortunes, but still collect money, it will ruin my reputation. Chuncheng and Daoshi put their wallets back first, and then said, if possible, we want to know what the future will be like. Your future? The fortune teller frowned. This term is really a bit broad. Generally speaking, nothing can be predicted. But she didn't refuse. Every customer who came to her for fortune telling had a deep meaning, unless they were deliberately making things difficult. Under her guidance, the two put their hands on the crystal ball together, and endless starlight flickered. Among them, the two lights, one blue and one red, were very weak. This phenomenon represented the message that their future was not very ideal. The fortune teller watched the evolution of the stars. The red starlight stopped at the dense light spot, while the blue starlight continued to move forward. After walking for a while, the blue starlight suddenly returned to the red light spot. The surrounding light quickly dissipated, and the blue and red lights also slowly disappeared. The star sign ended here. He rubbed his temples to sort out the information. I seem to have seen part of your future. In the near future, the two of you will be separated for a while, but the time will not be too long. In the end, you will not be separated again. Not separated again. The two of them? Yu and Daisy looked at her in confusion. Was the divination wrong? The fortune teller also recovered. This is the general meaning. Maybe my ability is not enough, but the stars should be correct. Thank you very much. This is your reward. Chuncheng handed her $20 from his wallet, but it was returned by the store owner again. I can't see your accurate future. It's my inability, and you may soon. Oh, forget it. The shopkeeper shook his head. Do you have anything else to tell fortunes? If not, please move aside. I have to go back and relax. Yu and Daisy stepped forward. I'll tell fortunes too. What I want to know is whether I will encounter any danger recently. While speaking, Yu and Daisy put her hand on the crystal ball, and she began to carefully observe the changes in the stars in the crystal ball. But after a while, the shopkeeper looked up at the child and sighed. Eat whatever you want recently. You won't have a chance in the future. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.